Hey there, Justin.
Hi.
Have you seen Morgan around today by any chance?
Oh, that was that one guy.
Yeah, the stage manager.
He had a body.
He does have a body.
Yeah.
Oh man, like people are coming into the auditorium. They're getting like they're ready for us to start the show. He no-showed the last 2 episodes. I cannot find the dude.
Has he shown a man?
He hasn't shown a man, and I was hoping that he would.
Yeah, somebody's got to show a man.
I thought that when I hired an unused FromSoft NPC, that it would be good for all of us, right? Like, we would have a stage manager, they would be taken from a really bad living situation, and everybody would be happy. But I mean, he's never around. When he is, he's dead.
Yeah, that was a stupid thing to think.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I just took a chance.
You may just not have talked. Okay, Julian. Do you know the trick to get them to come back, right? Like, or get them to give you more stuff, right? You got to quit out. We got to start over.
You're probably right.
Yeah, we got to start the game over. So, just re-intro the show, stop everything, re-intro the show, bring it back, and he'll come back. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. No, you're right. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's. Okay. And everybody, they're seated now in the auditorium.
Yeah. No, it's
they're
fine.
starting to roll the cameras. Okay. Let's go ahead.
Yeah,
let's start the show, and then maybe he'll come back.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
Live from beautiful downtown Bastrop, it's time for the Stage Select, starring Julian Titus and Justin Ham.
What could this possibly be? Seems a lot like a podcast. Wonder what specifically. Talking about video games. With your host, you're in good hands. Not more of the same. Now we'll jump right in. So expect the unexpected and more. Now we'll get grooving. Never know who's gonna walk through the door. There just might be some treasure in this chest. Having fun with a special guest. Time for Stage Select.
With special guest,
Westen from Big Nerd Gaming.
and here are your hosts, Julian Titus and Justin Ham.
Welcome, one and all, to the Stage Select. I'm Julian Titus.
I'm Justin Ham. I'm also here.
You are also here, and this is a video game variety show. And we are joined by a very special guest, Westen.
Hey guys,
Hi.
Hello.
I'm honored to be here. I'm a new fan.
You're an honored guest.
You are an honored guest. It's good to have you.
Yes.
Honestly, this is something that I'm very excited about because it kind of like spits in Elon Musk's eye, because like as much as he tries to make Twitter an uninhabitable place, I continue to have like very pleasant interactions with people, and Westen is one of those people. Like we found each other somehow. I want to say probably through the Gamer Looks at 40 / well-read mage kind of ecosystem. That's just kind of I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. But we've had excellent interactions like for like a couple months now. And I was like, hey, you wanna come on the show? Like let's do this. Let's do this for realsies.
Yeah.
Is this a bad time to tell you I just made a blue sky?
No, not at all. No, I mean, like I'm on Blue Sky as well. I just forget to use it. But
yeah,
I actually started today. But yeah, dude, for sure. And I've told you before, I don't have as much time to listen to podcasts, but I've been listening to pretty much all your episodes, and I've been enjoying them. You guys
nice
got me through a little bit of Yokohama Dungeon and Infinite Wealth the other day. That was key.
Okay.
God, I hate those dungeons overall, but
yeah, they're rough.
But I mean, with a good podcast, you get through it. So yeah, I'm excited to be here. I honestly have no nerdy friends. All my friends like sports, so I'm really excited to talk about.
Oh yeah.
The other day, when my one friend was like, "Oh, dude, I'm about to start MLB The Show. Aren't you proud of me?" I'm like, "Well, not particularly. I mean, good for you."
Well, yeah, you should have said it's a start.
Yeah,
but he'll be grinding Unicorn
Yeah,
Overlord.
reveal
anything.
to him later that it's an RPG, and it'll be fine.
If you like MLB The Show, let me show you Unicorn Overlord.
Yeah. Well, maybe don't jump into that just yet, but that might be a little much.
Yeah. No, maybe Infinite Wealth, then Unicorn Overlord.
Okay.
Yeah. Like you get, it's a slope. Westen, since it's your first time here, because let's see, yes, you are the first like new guest that we've had on the Stage Select as far as like someone who is not on an episode of Nerds Without Pants. So this is a very auspicious occasion. On that show, we would do this thing where we would get the guest's secret origin with video games. I'm not going to call it that anymore because this is a new thing. So I'm just going to kind of loosely call this the getting to know you phase of this episode of the Stage Select.
Okay.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, specifically like early gaming memories, like something that was like kind of indelible on you, maybe what, if anything, if you remember like a particular game, like being like the thing that made you get really into video games and why you continue to play them to this day. Because my theory is that, if you are gaming as a hobby, as an adult at this point, like there is probably something or like some game or some event that kind of led to that as like, oh no, this is a thing. This is this is an important thing that I want to keep doing.
Oh man, I've been gaming since I was 4 or 5. I remember Duck Hunt. I'm a mid-30s dad, side note. So that probably gives away a lot about me. But
yep, I get
it. Duck Hunt, Super Mario World was definitely the first one. And I still love 2D platformers to this day. My first more mature video game was Star Siege. If anyone's ever played that, it's kind of a weird one, but it was a mech game.
Okay.
Is that a computer game?
Yeah, it was a computer game. I think it was linked to Tribes. In some way.
Oh man, that's a sound drop I should get. Oh man, the Tribes theme song is great.
The Super Mario World, Star Siege, and then when I got my N64, I feel like that's when like I really fell in love with more games with Harvest Moon 64 and Ogre Battle 64. So I have an eclectic mix.
Very eclectic.
Definitely.
I like it.
Yeah. You mentioned like 2 of the, only RPGs on the N64. Kudos.
Yeah. Sorry to Quest 64.
Well, Quest 64.
No, we never say sorry to Quest 64.
Yeah, it's dead.
Wait, the Quest 64 guy follows me on Twitter, so let's
Quest 64 failed us multiple times in the ring in our old podcast.
We tried
to make a champion of Quest 64 in a segment we called Video Game Cage Match, and it just wasn't happening, and we gave it multiple shots.
Yeah. Thankfully Winter Heat came through in the end, and I'm particularly proud of that. Yeah.
I don't even remember who ended up being the final champion.
Winter Heat did.
It was Winter Heat. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's why
that's a good way to go out on.
Yeah, it was. It was great. It's the best thing that ever happened in that whole thing. Yeah. But anyway, continue. I'm sorry.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Other than that, I guess, and then I discovered emulators. So
that'll do it.
Yeah, I went back and played probably every Super Nintendo RPG ever made. I mean, most of them for like 5 to 10 hours, but it happened.
That's more than me.
Yeah,
I played everything for like 20 minutes and would be like, what else is on here?
Right, dude, it's so hard when you have there's so many options.
Very hard.
And it's like, but it's like also like, come on, you play like 5 hours of Breath of Fire.
Yeah, that's about right.
Like, why do people really love that game?
It's a good question.
Was it Lufia? Like that was the classic. Super Mario RPG was also a big one for me. Didn't care for the remake, but then moved on to PlayStation. Kind of, but like I play just about everything. So I love this hobby. I think I enjoy the competitive element. I'm a sports guy, but I also I just think it's better from a storytelling perspective. I like being interactive with it. So it's an amazing hobby. It's the only hobby I have that I haven't really cultivated any friendships through. So that just shows you how much I love it, that I've been able to do it without the social element. So video games rule.
Is there anything in particular or like a reason why you've stuck with it? Because I feel that like there a lot of people like they'll fall off of gaming and they might come back to it, or in a lot of cases like people you know, in our age group, and I'm mid 40s, like y'all are mid 30s, but sometimes people just, they drop off completely and they're like, no, I'm done. Like they reach a point where it's like, yeah, like it was fun, but like, you know, life got in the way or whatever, or I just didn't want to upgrade to the next console and just stopped or what have you. But you were going to the point that like you run a very cool blog about gaming. So like what is it that keeps you going?
Man, I just think the experiences are just unlike anything else. I mean, I watch the occasional like TV show and anime, but I mean, just nothing has me engaged the way I am when I play a video game. So yeah, and
I agree.
Big Nerd Gaming. Follow me on Twitter, and bignerdgaming.com is the website. So yeah, I write twice a week, and I have a writing background, so it's been a lot of fun to kind of reconnect with that, with the thing I probably love the most. So appreciate you calling that out too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And we'll definitely call it out again at the end of the show. It's been cool because like, I think you and I come from a similar place, which is basically video games are really cool. And I love talking about video games, and I enjoy my video games, and I'm not really here to complain about them constantly. Or I can also understand that more than one thing can be true, right? Like you very much understand that like you can like a game, or you can love a game even, but you can also be like, but there's this issue or that issue, right? Like, yeah. I kind of roll my eyes anytime that I'll like watch like a video review of a new game, or like I'm on Twitter and like the game has come out, it's like 2 days old, and people are like, this is the greatest game I've ever played, and I'm like, all right, okay, like maybe sit with that for a bit, like.
Yeah, you got to be careful of the honeymoon, dude. Once you get through like the tutorial stuff, that 5 to 20 hour mark is dangerous, man. You can start proclaiming some dangerous stuff in that time frame. So you got to give it some time. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to feel negative, but sometimes I'm like, you name any game, I can probably give you a flaw quickly off the top of my head. It's just how it is. It's like I wrote a post the other day that I posted today as we're recording, and it's like, it's a roundup thing. So there's only 3 to 4 paragraphs, and I'm like reading it back, like, man, I'm kind of like shitting on all these games, but it's just because there's only 4 paragraphs, so 1 to 2 are devoted to the stuff I don't like as much. But you can overlook any of that stuff, man. In the end, the good stuff usually overcomes a few bad things. And I think most video games these days are pretty well made. Like I've heard complaints like, oh, well, reviewers are too soft on games. And I'm like, honestly, I mean, you play most video games, like most professional video games are close to worth a 7 for me. Like, they're decent.
It feels like they learned a lot from, a lot of shit that happened in the past, at least some things, what worked and what didn't work. And now we don't get so many bad ones as we used to get, but at the same time, they kind of, I'm looking for the word where things meld together into one thing every now and then.
Homogenize?
Homogenize. That's the word. I couldn't think of it because I'm bad at English, apparently. But yeah, every now and then they do that, but still, they're still pretty all right most of the time.
Yeah. Sequels I feel like every sequel I play, I'm like, they improved most of my complaints for the first game. It's I don't know if that happened as much back in the day. So for whatever reason, they seem to be better at it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think historically, at least my feeling has been that like usually like video games buck the trend as far as like sequels, where the second game is almost always like better than the first because they already have the core concept down. They have a better idea of what they want to do, and then they can just like make that better, right? So it's unlike like movie sequels or like a book sequel or something like that, where it might be diminishing returns. Like usually that second game is like, oh wow, and then it starts to possibly fall off a little bit from there. But even then, it's still like, oh no, yeah, third game still really solid, what have you. And I really do feel that video games are kind of the best they've ever been. And so I really kind of push back against like a lot of people, like they're just incessantly complaining about certain parts of the industry that are very much, driven by like, the publisher or like just economics and stuff like that. And, but not actually like looking at like the games themselves. And like, the overall quality I think is like pretty high, and I think a lot of people who like anytime that I see like retro gamers who they'll have that like line in the sand where they're like, games stop being good right here, and it's like, man, there was a lot of shit out then. Like I know I sold it. Like like there's a lot of stinkers out there, and there's a lot of stinkers out there now. But it's just that there's also just like a lot of stuff that's at least solid, right? Like it might not blow your socks off, but it at least works.
Yeah.
Like I was playing the Sandland demo the other day, and I didn't particularly care for it, but like I saw a couple of redeeming factors there. I was like, it might end up all right. Like there's nothing.
Right.
It's pretty rare to find something that, like that Lord of the Rings Gollum game, that was pretty bad, but it's pretty rare to see those kind of catastrophic games these days for whatever reason. So I think video games are doing great. I actually wrote an article about this at the end of last year because I was like very, like, just you heard all the discourse, like, was 2023 the best video game year ever? So I was like, it's all vibes, right? And we're so far away from the past. I was like, I'm a numbers guy. I'm like, let's get some stats. So I started pulling up a bunch of Metacritic stats, and it doesn't go back to the 90s, so I can't look at 1997 or anything like that. But like the early 2000s had like slightly better review scores overall, but never 2023 had the most games ever with a Metacritic of 80 or higher. So
that's pretty good.
I believe it. Yeah.
Not as many in the 90s, but part of that's because in the 2000s, sports games were like really highly rated.
They almost always were. Yeah.
So games are actually better now than ever before, at least in terms of like the amount of good games. And part of that's like indie games being in there too, which weren't as much a thing back then.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think also like it's a little bit harder for games to score. I don't know, but actually I'm not gonna say that. I was gonna say it's harder for games to score higher these days, but like go back to my previous comment about like, the new thing comes out and like like the reviewers will be like, oh, this is the best thing ever, and it's like, okay, like it can be great, right? It's fine for a video game to be great. It doesn't have to like be shattering any expectations or anything like that. People definitely still hold up 1998 as one of the best, if not the best years, but like, I think people tend to forget that like every few years there's been like a really amazing, like kind of record setting year, right? Like 2001 was massive, right? You had Grand Theft Auto 3, Final Fantasy 10, Silent Hill 2, all in the same year. And then you have like, one of the big ones for me, I think it's 2007. That's BioShock. That's the Orange Box. That's Mass Effect. 2009 is a really, really massive year, like Assassin's Creed 2 and Dragon Age Origins and Arkham Asylum, right? So like every few years there's like just like a kind of a banner year, but even so 2023 definitely felt pretty big. And first quarter of 2024 is giving it a run for its money, though, I gotta say.
All right.
Yeah, I am overwhelmed with games, man.
Me too.
I'm excited to talk about them, but I'm hopping between like 4 to 5 games right now. It's
nice.
Yeah.
And I like them all.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Let's talk about them. What's some of the stuff you're?
Hold on. While we're still in the getting to know you phase, Julian, hold on. I got a thing I like to do with new people now that I just made up today. Well, I made it up a long time ago, but I'm going to do it again because this is what I'm going to do. And I don't have a sound drop for it, so I'm going to play my stand-in sound drop.
Check them out.
That's it.
That's the prototype. That is officially now the prototype sound clip.
Yeah, I just that's when I don't have when I'm trying something out. That's what I'm going to play. Mainly because I like it, and that's what I do. So, all right, Westen, this is a segment I'm going to call 5 questions. I have 5 questions for you that I would like to ask you.
It's exciting.
All right, it is very exciting, and we're all going to know you very well after it. Question number 1. How ripe do you prefer a fruit?
How ripe do I prefer a fruit?
Yeah.
I like my bananas very yellow.
Okay. That's a good answer. Yellow banana is pretty good.
Yeah, I don't like them green. Good. I don't like them bruised. I'm a straight down the middle guy.
Yeah. You're not making banana bread. Not doing that. Not doing that. I get it. Okay. Question number 2. What's your opinion on Bob Seger's Night Moves album?
Oh man, I hate to tell you this, but I am like, especially now, I don't know anything about almost anything outside of video games and sports. Like,
well, that's not really like an opinion.
Yeah,
I
have no.
Just make it up. It's fine. Nobody cares.
He's I'm from the Detroit area, so he's a legend of sorts here, and performed, I believe, at a Lions Thanksgiving one year, and
that sounds like something Bob Seger would do. Yeah,
and his teeth, I think, were very unfortunate. I remember that.
Oh, okay. Well,
so that was my.
So you don't like the album, is what you're saying?
He has a couple songs. I just Googled him. Night Moves. Yeah, Like a Rock. Yeah. You know, everyone know that was 10 years later though.
No, it's fine. Yeah, no, it's Night Moves is a gross song. About it's gross. I don't think the album's very good. No, question number 3. How do you think Jake Busey is doing right now?
Jake Busey. Let me Google him. Oh, that guy. Wait. No, is that? Oh, Gary. Is that Gary Busey's son?
Yeah.
It is. Oh, wow. How do I think he's doing? His latest Instagram post is from Gary Busey to the Gary Busey Heavy Stuff, Scary Stuff. So, 52. He has one child. I don't know. He probably has some money, but he probably like has like an identity crisis, like every so often. Like, hey, am I worthwhile, or was I just born? You know.
Why did I have to perfectly inherit my father's mouth? Like, why is that the trait that I got?
It's a good question. Yeah. Poor Jake Busey. Well, hopefully he gets better. All right. Question number 4. Got the
Starship Troopers residuals.
Oh yeah, he was in that. I forgot. All right. Well, question number 4. What's the best temperature?
Man. Give me like a late Michigan spring day, like 78. All right. That's my fave.
Okay.
You're an Ohio guy, so I'm sure you get something similar.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, 78. I'm into that. That's warm but not hot.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. I think most people would also agree. And anybody who doesn't is probably wrong. And finally, question number 5. Who won the PGA Championship in 1997?
Phil Mickelson.
I'm sorry, it was Davis Love III.
Oh man.
Yeah.
That's tough.
But thanks for playing.
When I listen to the show, I'm always like, oh man, Justin really pulls out some pop culture references. He just threw me into the fire, you know?
Yeah. Well, that's how we get to know people around here. At least now we do. And now we'll end this bit by playing the stand-in sound bit.
Check them out.
I think the last episode I listened to, I was like, man, I really hope Justin doesn't ask me about like fringe 90s pop culture.
Well,
that would be terrifying.
I won't ask you anymore. I'll just simply tell you them, and you can do with that information what you will.
I'm here for 311.
Okay. Well. Okay.
That's later. No. That's later.
Okay. All right. He said it though, Julian.
89.
Okay, fine.
All right.
But sorry, you only get one.
Yep.
Yes.
I'm sorry. We triggered the 311 button. That means it's time for a 311 minute. Today's fact is an actual fact.
They're all actual facts.
Yes. Singer/guitarist Nick Hexum named one of his daughters Echo.
Okay.
Presumably after the dolphin, I hope. Maybe not. We'll never know. But that's a real thing that he did. And we all have to live with it.
Yeah.
And that's been the 311 minute.
Chill.
And now, a word from our sponsors.
Hi, I'm Julian Titus,
host of the Emmy Award-winning variety show The Stage Select. We live in unprecedented times. It can be difficult to find the right person to talk to, or even find the time to do so. And even then, who can afford top-tier therapy? That's why I use Mediocre Assistants. Their 24/7 web app can connect you to semi-qualified, almost professionals that can provide you with the kind of platitudes that might make you feel a little bit better about the imminent collapse of modern society. Remember, when you're feeling overwhelmed and you don't have the money or time to seek out the kind of lasting care that everyone should have access to, think of Mediocre Assistance. Sure, there's better help out there, but who can afford that?
Back to you,
It's better
Julian.
than Pilot Inspector.
Yeah,
That's the worst celebrity child name that I've heard.
I'm trying to think. What were some bad ones? What did the guy from My Chemical Romance name his kid? It was pretty bad. Hold on, give me a minute. You continue with the show. I'm going to Google some things here.
Thank you for the permission, Justin.
You're welcome. I handed it back. I said, now back to you, Julian, and then you kept going with the celebrity names. But what are you going to do?
Yeah, well, that was me continuing with that thing, and then you let that drop. Well, I guess not. You're continuing it, but you have to do some research. Weston, dig us out of this hole. What's some of the stuff you've been playing recently?
And I'm going to talk about this game briefly. I'm really open to talking about a general subject after this because I'm very fascinated with open world design right now. Because not every single one, but we've had a lot of open world games.
Yes,
and they're all have like very different philosophies for the most part. And it's been I found it interesting. So yeah, I'm playing Rise of the Ronin right now. That's
nice.
Probably been. I can't even call. I'm in a crazy mode, man. I'm just like I play a game for like 2 days and I'm loving it. Then all of a sudden, I'm just boom, next game. So I haven't actually played it in a few days, but I haven't played a Team Ninja game in a long time. I didn't play those, and I am just having a blast with the combat. Like it is so much fun. It's fast paced. Like, the parrying system is great. Like it's very tricky timing. A lot of different skills you can use. They give you like a flamethrower. You can throw out a gun randomly. Like group combat's fun when there's a lot of guys coming at you. The one-on-one stuff's good. It's got that Souls-like element, obviously, like Neo, but it puts it in the open world setting. So kind of like the way you can make Elden Ring easier by just exploring more. And it has that, and it has difficulty options, which I'm
all right. Okay.
So I'm keeping it to normal, but it's nice to know. Like it keeps things from getting too stressful. Like because like when I'm getting my ass beat by an Elden Ring boss or any FromSoft boss, I'm like stressing out because I'm like, am I about to quit this game? Because I just really can't get past this point. So it's nice to have in the back pocket. So the combat is incredible. Graphics are fine. I mean, whatever. I don't care that much about that. The performance is really good.
That's good.
But the open world design's like very basic. It's very like standard Ubisoft, and I'm like, I like it. I like being able to fast travel. I like, I'm not going to say the tasks are like incredible, but they're harmless. And they get you into more combat encounters. They let you level up or do whatever. So, I mean, I think the game's mostly effective at what it does. And I saw criticisms of it, like basically saying, no, I want, because anytime an open world game comes out, and this happened with Rebirth too, there's people that are like, oh, well, I don't like the hand holding in this open world design. And I think in this game, it makes sense because like the point of the game is just keep getting into combat encounters. And I think if I had to spend a lot of time exploring, I'd be getting bored. So, that's a really solid video game. I'm having a great time with it.
I've been curious about this one because I saw that you were playing it, and so I was hoping you'd bring it up because it's on my radar. I think the thing for me that's kind of keeping me away from it is the setting, because I literally just played a game last year that is in like the exact same time frame with the exact same characters. And I think, for me, and I don't know if I would love to know like the why Japanese media tends to focus on this specific era of their history so often. I know, but like I want to play a samurai game where it's like the height of the samurai, right? Like the black ships have not come, right? So you don't have to deal with like guns or anything like that, and like the samurai are like kind of the strongest they've ever been. But I do see them like focus in on this a lot, and I think that when I was watching reviews, I was like, oh, I'm getting a serious sense of deja vu from like a Dragon Ishin last year, but. And maybe, well, I don't know if you've played the series or not, Westen, or if you can speak to it. I keep seeing people comparing it to the Way of the Samurai series, and that gets me very excited. That series kind of has like a lot of like choices that you can make, and there's like weird things where there's a lot of different endings and like a lot of like customization of your weapons and stuff like that. And it's got a little bit of wackiness to it. Not quite like a dragon levels of wackiness, but more wackiness than you would expect from like a historical, samurai setting.
Yeah, I haven't played that, but I would definitely not put it in that boat. I would say there's been zero zaniness.
Okay.
Not one bit. It's very, very serious game. I don't think I've even cracked a smile playing. I mean, I guess if you really like cats, when you pet the cats, maybe that'll make you smile. I'm more of a dog guy myself, but I mean, no issues with cats. So don't come for me, cat people. But I mean, it's a very serious tone. There is choices, but it's structured very weird. Like you can be pro Shogun or anti, and then there's some missions, and you're like kind of going up in each rank. And I'm like, I just want to do the missions. You know what I mean? So I'm not like if I see a mission, I want to do it, even if it's for the American guy. I'm like, well, I don't want to miss out on a combat encounter. And I think sometimes it feels like there's a choice, but then sometimes like you feel like you kind of have to do these missions for each faction, and then you kind of go up against the other faction, and then they're kind of like, oh well, okay, well I understand you had your own reasons for doing that. So it's the choice. There is a choice element, and I find it kind of odd and confusing.
Okay,
and the story, like I actually have more fun reading the codex stuff and like just reading their like summary of the history than actually like getting the cutscenes and stuff. So it's very much a game that just like does pretty good open world stuff, and the combat is just like absolutely top tier, but it's accessible, which I find important, and that's what I would say is the main strength of the game.
Did you play Sekiro by any chance?
I did. It's funny. I was watching someone was clipping that I follow on Twitter, and I was like, oh yeah, that's the boss that just I could not get past. But yeah.
So because my question is like, if I just completely like bounced off of Sekiro because I just didn't get it, like I couldn't get past like the first couple bosses, like am I going to have a better time with Rise of the Ronin, or am I going to be kind of in the same boat?
Oh, I think you'd be fine. There's an easier difficulty. So and I don't think I'm doing all right in normal. I haven't died tons, a little bit, but I mean, if you're having a hard time, it's like the Elden Ring thing. You can go and do more side quests and get stronger.
Which is nice.
And for the main missions, you can actually bring party members. So you usually have 2 AI controlled guys with you who you can, if you go down, you switch to them and you can res your guy or just fight with them or whatever. So, so a couple bosses have tripped me up a few times, but nothing too bad. So, it's one of the most accessible Souls type games I've ever played.
Yeah, I'm getting very interested in this one because I knew this game was out, but I kind of like forgot about it because of all the other stuff that's been coming out.
Dogma same day. So
yeah, like
they put it out at a bad time.
Yeah, it was just kind of got buried, and then I'm like, oh, it's a Team Ninja game, so I will ask, how is like the character creation good? Because I did look up that it had one, and now I'm like, oh, is it good? I hope it's good because the Neo one was really good. A couple of the other ones were pretty good. Yeah. I was just wondering.
I'm not like you with that. I'm very much
I know.
I make
few people are.
I make the character blonde.
It's okay.
And maybe give him my beard, and that's about it. I made. You make 2 characters actually. You make a brother and a sister. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm sold.
But yeah, I'm assuming it's very similar to Neo. But I have seen some really cool ones. And I like my character, even though I didn't even put that much effort. I ended up.
Hell yeah.
Doing the girl. So I'm I like my character. So yeah, I think if it's
That's
Neo,
awesome.
I'm assuming
All
they
right.
just mostly.
Yeah, it was really good. And that one, I'm guessing they probably just, they've kind of just carried them over, like just, to the next game. It has the same elements and stuff, which is fine because it's really good. So I'm in. That sounds pretty dope. All right.
It's definitely on my to-do list as far as like a pickup later on in the year, I think. But I was curious about because I guess I didn't catch that it was open world, so that's interesting to me because that was the issue I ran into with Sekiro. It was twofold, right? One, the path was the path, and two, I couldn't do anything to actually make my character better. I just had to get good, and I didn't learn how to get good. Now, maybe if I go back to it now after platinuming Elden Ring, maybe I have like some things in my repertoire, muscle memory type things that might serve me better, but it's still a pretty different type of game, so maybe not. But it sounds like this one I might, because I had trouble at the beginning of Stranger of Paradise, Final Fantasy Origin, which is the last game that Team Ninja did. But then I got like really into it, and like I was actually like, the only reason I didn't finish it is because there was like a pretty hardcore like gear grind that I needed to do at the very end, and the best place to do that was the most recent level, which is the worst level in the game, and I just didn't want to have to run that 4 or 5 times to gear up enough for the end game. So I was like, I think I'm done, but like I did really enjoy my time with it. So I'll definitely have to check this out.
I know based off some of your tweets and a little bit of your Rebirth talk, I mean, the open world is not something that you'll love. I mean, a lot of the same stuff over and over. I didn't even know this. Like, right. I thought the first world was pretty. It wasn't big, but I was like, okay, it's a fine enough open world. But apparently, there's like 3 to 4 more maps, or 3 more maps after this. So
okay,
so there's a lot of side stuff to do. But I mean, you can pretty much just skip it, or unless you just want to get a little stronger. And most of that side stuff is just smaller combat encounters, which I enjoy because I really like the combat. So. Not amazing open world design, but I think that's a positive thing for the most part. And there's a few fun things about it. There's a glider, which I mean, gliders are just a cheat code in these games. Like if you put a glider in an open world game, it's probably gonna be kind of cool. So yeah, I'm enjoying just when I get high up traveling with the glider as well.
Yeah. I have had this kind of ever evolving opinion on open world games for the last almost 10 years now, because like if you go back and listen to like old Nerds Without Pants episodes, like it would be this thing where like I was trying to kind of codify my thoughts on them, and it's definitely changed over time. And it also, at this point, it kind of depends on how much I'm enjoying like the core parts of the game, right? Like I was thinking about this today actually, so I'm glad you wanted to talk about like open world design, because I definitely. It's definitely something I want to talk about, and I was thinking about this just because that's what I do. I just think about video games all day long. But I was thinking about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, because so a lot of people are complaining about Rebirth as far as like, oh, you go up these towers and it litters your map full of icons, and like, I actually don't feel that there's actually like a lot of stuff on the map for Rebirth compared to like a lot of other open world games.
Great.
But the game itself feels very insecure about its open world, because like there's a lot of things where it's like, well, we don't want you to miss this, right? So like, not only is the icon on the map, but as you get close, there's going to be like a guide that takes you to the actual thing, or Chadley's going to like interrupt your gameplay and tell you, oh, it's right around the corner, Cloud, blah, blah, blah. And it's definitely the Ghost of Tsushima type of thing, but Tsushima was very much like the reason that they had like, the foxes or like the light is because they were keeping things as minimalistic as possible, like on the actual screen. And so it was a way of like kind of gently guiding you towards things, sort of like the way that like the points of grace in Elden Ring would do, where they would have that like little wisp of light kind of gently pointing you in the next direction to the next one, but just as kind of like a jumping off point, not actually pointing you directly where you needed to go. But I feel that Final Fantasy VII Rebirth in particular to me just feels like, well, we didn't think that you'd actually find the stuff, even though like just you would find like, I think 90% of that stuff just by like walking around, right? Like you don't even need to look at a map to find the stuff in Rebirth. But that's kind of the main like kind of sticking point that I have with like the open world design of Rebirth, like in particular. because I am enjoying more of like the Elden Ring style of, hey, just go, man. Like, just, you know, you'll find it. Like, eventually you'll find the stuff. Like, you know, you'll start to see like what parts of the map are actually like unique and kind of gravitate towards there.
Yeah. I like a map that tells me where to go most of the time, but I just want it to be filled with stuff that I actually want to do most of the time.
That's a big thing too. Yeah.
Like that's my biggest problem with Final Fantasy VII Remake is like you get to the stuff and it's like, I don't know, here's a quick time event that we did. And it's like, okay, great. That's fun. Yeah. And I press some buttons in time and Titan's like, oh boy, you did a good job. I'm stronger now. I'm like, okay, good. And then he goes away, and then I'm like, and then Chadley's like, "Hey, good job, you did a thing." And I'm like, "I hate you so much. I wish you would die." And then I just slowly die inside as I go through it. But if it was like, "Hey, here's a cool thing that happened in the Final Fantasy VII universe," and I'd be like, "Okay, this is cool." But they don't do that, so it's just, you know, it is what it is. I like to know where I'm going. I hate the feeling of being lost most of the time. Like, I don't like that because it frustrates me. I don't know why, but it always has. Just in real life, I get frustrated if I'm lost. Like, that's when I get pissed off in actual reality. It's like, I don't know where I'm going. There's a million turns and they keep telling me to turn left, but I can't. I don't know how to do it.
I have a real life story that I want to tell later on that actually is in that vein.
Okay. Well, yeah, I don't super enjoy getting lost. I know a lot of people do. I know a lot of people when it comes to open world stuff, they want to get kind of lost and figure things out on their own. I'm like, no, just kind of point me where to go because I'm lazy. That's really what it boils down to is I'm lazy. But when I get to the thing that you're pointing me at, I want it to be cool and actually like be something that you authored and has meaning and is a story or something like that. That I will remember. That's all I ask for.
Yeah. So where are you kind of coming at this angle, Westen?
Yeah.
I mean, I think, you know, what's interesting is I don't think every game can have the Elden Ring design. I think you need a very specific kind of map. Like, obviously, the old Yakuza games didn't show the sub-stories, if I recall.
Right. No, and that's actually a bit of a sticking point for me.
Yes.
I didn't like that. So I like all the icons on the screen, and just like you need an element of verticality with your open world in order to do something like that. And then you need, you know, good draw distance. You need to be able to see things on the horizon, which Rebirth actually does. They probably could have built an open world more like that. I just thought the world was so beautiful and just I just
it is
love
very pretty.
Like I wrote a piece on this. Like I never messed with photo mode, and then Rebirth I just like wanted to take pictures, you know. So I know it's not a good photo mode, but I started taking pictures. So, you know, and I thought most of the tasks were at least harmless. I was just excited to explore more. And I love the combat in the game, so, you know, more excuses to fight. So, and I agree with you, Julian. I think I don't think the amount of tasks is overwhelming, and they hide a couple things. You know, they like the chocobo stops are hidden. You just got to find those. You know, obviously, the chocobo guides you to them, but it's easy to miss those. And then there's the treasure spots too that they don't guide you to. So at least I thought it split the difference pretty well. Myself.
I definitely have to get back into it again. I got to like Costa del Sol, and then it got back to the rest of the open world stuff, and I was just like, I don't want to do it again right now. I just didn't. But it's not that it's like terrible. I've definitely played worse. Like I've definitely been like, oh, this is a miserable experience. It wasn't bad. It was just like, and this is like a me thing very specifically, where I got into that stuff. And I was just like, well, I have to finish it all before I can move on. So this is going to be like 5 hours of my life now. I probably don't have to do that, but I have to do it, you know, because Alexander will not be strong enough if I don't do it, even though I don't think I ever summon anything when I'm in a fight because I have it on easy mode. Because I'm bad at the combat. I'm really bad at it. Unless I'm Tifa, and then I'm fine. That's the only one I'm good at.
Yeah, you brought up a good point, Justin, which is, and for me also, there has to be like a bit of an incentive, and the incentive can vary by game to game, right? Like sometimes, Westen, if I'm like really into the combat, that's enough incentive, right? Like it's like I just want to do more of this, right? And so if it gives me an excuse to do more of that, then cool, right? But more and more for me, it ends up being like a story focused thing, right? So like I really loved the Horizon games for that, because like almost every one of like the side things has like some sort of like story attached to it. Same thing with The Witcher 3, which I realized after the fact is kind of where Horizon got that from, right? Yeah. Where, you would have like these little quest lines that would involve, like multiple steps, right, and things like that. And sometimes, it, like in Elden Ring, like it was just like, well, I haven't been over there yet. Yeah. Let me see what's over there. And, but I do, and Westen, you and I talked about this on Twitter briefly, because like my thing that I always go back to is like whenever people are complaining about like, the icons all over the map, a la Horizon or like a Ubisoft game or something like that. I'm like, if you marked everything on the Elden Ring or like Breath of the Wild map that is a point of interest, it's going to look exactly the same. They just don't show it on their maps. Like, yeah. And you can turn that stuff off on those other games as well if you want. Like, you can go blind if you want.
Right.
Right. Like, if can you imagine if every sign guy was on Tears of the Kingdom and all those the go-around things, and like, yeah, people would lose it. Like, oh, this is a terrible open world, but they hide it. Nobody feels compelled to do all the sign guy stuff. So
right,
it doesn't matter then. Yeah. So, I mean, I agree. And so we've talked about this. I wrote a little piece on it. It's, and this isn't an attack on you, Justin, but a lot of complaints on open world. I guess this is going to sound like an attack on you. A lot of complaints about open world game design are mostly self-control. Like it's,
yes.
The reason,
absolutely.
The reason I like open world games because it lets me, like, if I really like the game, like I like Rebirth, I dive in and do just about everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I, like Ronin, I'm really liking it. I'm guessing if there's 3 maps or whatever, I'm probably going to reach a point like map 2 where I'm like, all right, I'm mainlining this, but I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's game to game with me. I think it's because it's Final Fantasy VII, which is like one of my like all time favorites and like got me into video games. I feel like compelled to have to do everything. Most open world games like a Horizon or something that has a lot of the icons and stuff, I don't even bother with it unless it's something that I want to do. I'll if it's an activity that I'm like, oh yeah, I actually like doing that. That's pretty fun. I'll go and do all of them. But like if it's like, I don't know, find all the little towers that have like you got to find them in order. And I'm like, oh no, I'm not doing that. I'm bad at that. I'm bad at finding things. Oh man, the zip lines broke me in 7 Rebirth. They're like, go find all these zip lines. And I was like, I can't, I don't notice things in environments very well.
Dude,
can I not?
That's one of the only things I went to a guide for on the game too. I was like, I can't do it. I hate going to guides. I really do, but I couldn't.
When anybody asks me to notice our environment, I'm like, oh, I'm not looking that hard. I'm just not. I'm sorry.
And for me, I think also it can be like sometimes it's am I full yet or not, right? So I got the platinum on Horizon Zero Dawn. I loved that game and wanted to see everything. I also loved Horizon Forbidden West, and I got to a certain point where I was like, I'm full. And there's still so much game left. And so then I just reached a point where I was like, I've just got to focus on the main story. Like, there's probably some excellent side quests that I'm missing, but I am overstuffed. This game is too big, and I don't want to do it right now. Now, maybe when I go back and do the DLC, like, because they had released that expansion, maybe I'll go mop up the rest of the stuff then, because it'll have been long enough, since I was really in it. And then sometimes it might be a thing where I just actively don't want to do a thing, right? So like, there are 2 activities in Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth that's grossed me out enough where I did the introduction, and I was like, yeah, I'm not touching that ever again. This is a bad look for this series. Like, I don't know why you guys did this.
Which one?
So there's the Sicko Snap one where you're on the trolley. Because I just really didn't like the implications, because like it tends to just be like really muscular dudes that actually it's all just really muscular dudes in like Speedos that you're photographing, but they're kind of just like doing their thing.
Yeah, they're just having a good time.
It's like, I don't know why these are being thought of as sickos. They're not Sujimon, right? Like the Sujimon are supposed to be like also sickos.
I think the implication is that you're actually the sicko for taking pictures.
They do that at the end, but the guy that you're doing the photos for is like, oh, you got to, because you're also like because the other part of it, I think the thing that really turned me off was that the pictures are being sent directly to the cops so they can go bust these guys. For just like
them to the cops.
I didn't pay
like
that close
dancing around in
attention to
public.
the Sicko Snap lore, I guess. So I didn't miss that part.
Yeah. So there was that one. I just really didn't. I was like, there's a certain implication here of like who these guys are that I just think is like really not great. And then the other one was I did the first like dating app thing.
Is it the live action one?
The live action one.
Oh, I can't wait for that. Oh, those are
so good. I'm sorry, it's great.
I really didn't like it. Like,
I loved those. They're so. It's like I'm playing the Chinese dating simulators all over again. It's amazing. I can't wait.
And it's not even that I was like, oh, this is like too lascivious or whatever. It's like it just felt kind of gross in a way that like doing the like online chats in Like a Dragon or in Yakuza 6 didn't feel. There was just something about that first experience where I was like, I'm fine. I don't need to do this. I'll just go do some more Sujimon battles.
Is it the same as the ones in Gaiden? Where it's like you go to like a hostess club and you have a like weird live action date in the club, or is it different?
Yes and no. Like it starts off with like a texting portion where you're just texting back and forth. And then as you meet like certain thresholds, like they'll send you pictures. And I think the thing that skeeved me out on this first one is that like, it was like the first picture she sent was like her ass in a bikini. And I'm like, I play porn games and this is going too fast, right? Like this just feels weird.
Usually you get just some thigh. Usually it's like thigh. And that's it.
Yeah, I think I just happened to get like one of the racier ones like right out of the gate.
I see.
Because the second picture was like a feet pic, and then like eventually like I go on the date, right? But the date was like in her hotel room. She's in a bikini still, and I'm like, this is weird.
That's not how you date. I don't know.
That's not how I date.
Well,
I don't know. The vibes were off. Now maybe it goes into some sillier places later. I'm not sure.
So like 75% of those are catfishes. So you show up,
okay,
and then it's just like some dude or like a mascot or something. Yeah. So it's always hilarious when you go into the door and you're like, you got all the anticipation. Is this gonna be a real girl or is this gonna be the catfish? Then it's the catfish. Right. And then of course every time I do get the real girl, my wife walks downstairs and goes,
that's right.
What the hell are you playing?
That's exactly how it works. Yeah.
And I'm like, it's Japanese. It's fine. She likes the anime humor, so it's good.
That works then. Yeah.
It's an evolving thing, like the open world thing, right? And it like at this point for me, it definitely is like a case by case basis, and I can't even tell you like before a game comes out if I'm gonna click with it or not, right?
Yeah.
I know I'm going to play Grand Theft Auto 6 because, duh. But at the same time, GTA, but specifically like Rockstar's game design since Grand Theft Auto 4 has been rapidly going in a direction that I am not very interested in. It might be a thing where I play it for 5 hours and I'm like, yep, I'm good. Or I get like super invested in it and I do everything. But even back in 2008, I remembered thinking like, man, Grand Theft Auto 4 is too damn long. Too damn long being like, it was probably like 40 hours, which is like, you're just getting warmed up by today's standards at 40 hours.
Yeah. I when it comes to Rockstar stuff, I just hope it's more open than it has their Quest stuff has been previously, because they kind of went down a road of like very directed, which was really annoying in Red Dead. Like you'd move slightly to the left sometimes. It's like, you failed the mission. You didn't do it how he would have done it. It's like, oh man,
you're off your mark. Look at the tape.
It really gets annoying when that happens. Like, it's storyline wise and stuff, it's really good, but they really want you to see everything a certain way, and like that's cool to some extent, but at the same time, like they need to figure out a way to make that slightly less annoying. But yeah, it's tough. It's a tough line for them to walk, I guess. But I don't know. I want the cars to be as real as possible, so they're terrible to drive, and I hate them. That's what I like. And I'm not kidding. I actually like that. See, that's not a joke. I like that
one of the big
because
turnoffs for me.
Because I'm like, can I get away from the cops when three of my tires are slashed and I can't keep it on the road at all? Can I get away? Like, it's a challenge to me.
Well, that's a different thing, though. Like, I'm down for that, but if the car is intact, and like I can't keep it on the road, that's a problem.
But see, that's the fun too. It's like, I'm in this piece of shit. Can I get away from them? I don't know. And then you either you do or you don't. Who knows? And then sometimes you like see another car coming headlong in the distance, and then you head on crash into them. Now I want the head on crashes to just break both cars and we all die. That would be fantastic, actually.
It's a roguelike GTA.
I'm into that. I'm into that.
Why not?
Honestly, yeah,
are we cooking?
I can get down with that.
They actually, there's an indie game that came out pretty recently that I've seen on Steam that takes the old GTA perspective,
overhead.
Like the overhead kind of thing, but not super overhead, kind of isometric a little bit, and made it roguelike out of that whole concept. I can't remember what the name of it is now. I'd have to look that up. But it's basically that. It's just like, yeah, go on a big weird crime rampage and see what happens. And I was like, oh, that's actually a pretty good idea.
Yeah. I can get down with that.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out what it was called. I know I put it on my wish list, but you guys continue.
Well, I actually, Weston, I want to hear more about what you've been playing, but before we get further into that, I have a new thing that I want to try. Okay. And this is actually going to, probably, well, this is going to take up the rest of the year.
Okay, I don't like this.
Of the stage select.
Okay.
So, it's an election year. I need to distract myself from it because I hate Giant Douche and I hate the Turd Sandwich. I don't want either of them in office, but this is the choice that we are presented with, as we always are. So I thought, well, what if we had like a video game presidential election on the stage select this year? But then I was like, well, if we do that, we have to have nominations, and we have to have Republican and Democrat nominations. So I wanted your help with this, Justin and Weston, and then we'll also get help from the listeners after this episode goes live. I have nominated some video game characters for the Democrat and Republican primaries that we will do elections for in an upcoming episode.
Okay.
Any third parties?
Yeah. Where's the Ralph Nader of this situation?
No, we're not doing third parties.
I'm out. I don't like this.
I'm a Democratic voter in Texas. I'm already throwing my vote away by voting for the Giant Douche.
Well, why can't we all throw our votes away?
No, because that's the whole point. Is I want my vote to matter here.
But Julian, if we all throw our votes away, then we didn't actually throw them away.
You'd think that, but that's really not the reality of the situation.
I mean, okay, well, all right.
Okay, look, if a listener throws a wild card into the thing and it gains traction, maybe we'll have a third party.
Yeah, Hojo, third party.
Well, it's funny you say that, Weston. So for the Democratic nominee, I have Barrett Wallace from Final Fantasy VII.
Okay, yeah, okay. Well, that sounds good. That's good.
Liara Tassoni from Mass Effect.
Okay, yeah.
And Particio from Octopath Traveler 2, who you might think would be a Republican, but he would definitely be one of those Democrats who would go in with a really good plan, but then instantly get taken over by lobbyists.
See, he screams third party to me because he's like the rich guy that would just run and just he's not going to win, but he would just run to run, you know, like he's just like, I got some good ideas, and everybody's like, I'm not going to vote for that guy, but he does have some good ideas.
Who was the ripped guy that was like a businessman that was in the last Democratic primary? That he would run in the primary with his money, and he'd flame out, but he'd make a few fans.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Those are good. Those are good so far.
So he comes out on his rallies to his theme, right?
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Boom.
Yeah.
That's my vote.
Yeah.
That's all I needed.
On the Republican side, I have Joel from The Last of Us.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Think about it.
Yeah, probably.
Kratos from the God of War series.
Definitely.
And Mario from the Mario series.
No Master Chief. Master Chief would definitely be.
Well, so that's the thing is like, so we need more nominees, right? So that's why I turn it to you guys. This is what I came up with to get us started, but I want to get some more nominees from y'all and then turn it over to listeners and they can nominate some more. And then we'll have a Democratic primary, like vote on an episode, and then a Republican primary, vote on another episode. And then those will be our candidates. And then they will be able to campaign going forward. And I want to do like some dumb like campaign ads, you know, for the show and stuff like that as we head into November. And maybe that'll actually be like in one of the last episodes of the year will be the actual election or results or whatever. And then we can, you know, maybe, I don't know, maybe I'll come up with like some merch with a bumper sticker that says, don't blame me, I voted for, and then it's whatever video game character ends as the president on the stage select.
Well, you could nominate Everett Clare to be in the Democrat party, probably.
Ooh,
I mean, he's the ultimate Democrat from Disco Elysium.
Yeah, okay.
I'm just going through things on my PC now to try to find things. I'm like, let's see.
Particio is John Delaney, by the way. I'm not going to call him Michael Bloomberg. He's better than that.
I understand.
Justin, you said Master Chief for Republican?
Yeah, probably.
Okay. I see that.
Trying to think of, good God. shoot first, ask questions later. Let's see. Who else?
Our listeners are going to be so mad at me for saying that Mario is a Republican, but really think about it. Really think about it, and you'll see that I'm right.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Let's see. Hades from the Hades game. Hades might be a Republican. He might be. I don't know. Let me think about that more.
Okay.
Can I come back to you with more ideas? Is my next question, because I may need to think about this more.
Yeah. Do you want to put a pin in it here, and you guys can think of some stuff? And we'll come back to it later.
We'll think about it.
I'm gonna throw Clive out there for the Democratic primary real quick. But
okay.
Oh, Scorpion's a Republican.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So we got Clive Rosfield. Oops. Let's see. Clive Rosfield for Democrats.
Yeah.
I'm going to nominate Saga as a Republican.
Who?
Saga from Alan Wake 2.
Yeah, Alan Wake 2.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually kind of agree with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Scorpion.
She's a cop. What are you going to do, Julian? I don't know what to tell you.
She is a cop.
Yeah.
And ACAB.
Yeah.
All right. This is looking good. This is looking good so far.
Good start.
Okay.
Good start.
Yeah. I'm digging this. Okay.
All right.
So we'll leave it there for now, and then we can circle back to it later and add more. And then, like I said, I'll open it up to listeners so they can start to send stuff in. So listeners, I'll say it right here, and I'll say it again next when we come back around to it. But you can submit any way that you want. If you're on Patreon, you can send it. You can drop me a line there. The email is thestageselectpod@gmail.com, or you can hit us up on Twitter at stageselectpod. Any of those venues, or even you can comment on like the YouTube version of the episode if you want. However you want to like get a nomination in. Like I will find it, and it will go on the list, and then we'll determine our Democrat and Republican nominees respectively over time. But I think this is going to be fun. So feeling good about this.
The name of that game I was talking about earlier, the GTA roguelike, was called Maniac, by the way, in case anybody's interested in looking at that.
Okay.
It exists, I promise.
There was one game that I saw very briefly in like a I don't even remember where. I want to say it was in like one of those like sizzle reels on like a Summer Games Fest presentation.
Yeah.
But it was like a 70s era overhead. It looked very much like an old GTA game, but like fully polygonal graphics where you're playing as a cop. And while I don't like the idea of playing as a cop, the actual game looked pretty cool.
Yeah.
I don't know the name of it. And that's all I've seen of it. Like, so I don't even know what format it's for. I don't know if it's a PC game or if it's console or what have you.
Right.
But it looked interesting, and that's all I've got. Maybe someone will know.
Yeah, tough to say.
Yeah.
All right,
Weston. Well, what I know you've been bouncing around between a lot of things, so is there anything else you wanted to hit up? And it can definitely be something we've already talked about. Like it doesn't, it doesn't have to be something that hasn't been on the show.
I was gonna say I'm still bouncing between Unicorn Overlord and Infinite Wealth, which you guys have covered pretty well, especially Unicorn Overlord. So, I mean, I don't think we need to talk too much more about that. I'm having a very good time with Overlord. I think I agree with most of what you guys have said. I'm 17 hours in. I haven't struggled too hard with any fights yet. So, but you guys talked about it ramping up. So I am looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Another open world game. See, even the open world games are everywhere.
They are.
Yeah.
Yeah, Infinite Wealth. I reached a point where the plot, I'm like, okay, I'm in. And it took a bit. I think it took a little longer than I would like, but the moment is pretty sweet. But I could talk about Ultros. I started that about 3 hours in. The fancy Metroidvania, colorful indie one came out, I think, last month.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, named after everyone's favorite octopus.
Oh, okay. I might have to look this up. I'm kind of out of the loop a little bit.
Yeah,
you'll know it. You'll the second you see it, you'll be like, "Oh, that one."
Yeah,
because it definitely has a look.
Oh, it does have a look. Yeah.
I compare it. It's like a mix of insanely twisted Shadow Planet, Hollow Knight, and some LSD.
Right.
It's interesting. It's so. I was like 45 minutes into it. I'm like, oh no, man, this game is not great. Like the combat's not that good. Like it's weird. You're like, whoa, this is interesting, but nothing's grabbing me. But then you reach a point, and then the map just opens up, and you can literally go any direction you want, which is pretty rare in these games. Usually there's somewhat of a direction. I'm just like kind of like the open world thing we were just talking about. Like I'm actually having a lot of fun exploring. The combat kind of gets in the way, and a bit of the platforming, but it's very interesting. If you like, I think it took me a second too, because I played Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. That was my last Metroidvania, and that's the tightest platforming and combat you will find in the genre. Like,
right,
second to none. Ultros way below that, but if you like that Dragon's Dogma kind of like exploration style, like Elden Ring, I think you'll find something to like here, and it's weird. So if you like
it is, I love this art.
Yeah,
I'm like, this is cool looking, like really cool.
So sometimes that art can get in the way.
I can see that. Yeah. I can definitely see that too. Yeah.
There's times where I lose my character a little bit. Getting better. 3 hours in, it's happening a little less. But no, it's like you literally go into a new area and you're like, I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna see next. Like it could be anything. So that's a pretty cool game. And I think if you like Metroidvanias, that is if you're more for the exploration and don't care as much about the combat and platforming elements, I think there is a lot to like there.
Right on.
Very cool.
But other than that, I mean, I'm down to talk about what you guys are playing. As I said,
all right.
You guys have extensively talked about. And I was actually listening to you yesterday, and I was playing Ultros, and I was like, man, maybe I should turn on Unicorn Overlord. But
it's funny because I was looking at like our Spotify data today for the most recent episode, and like we haven't had a lot of like we're not big on Spotify. Like most of it is coming through like other places, but like
I'm on Spotify.
The thing about Spotify that's interesting is you can see like when people leave an episode, and like everybody dropped off in about 20 minutes, and I'm like, oh man, like I guess people weren't in for like this deep dive into Unicorn Overlord, but that's okay because you need to know.
So I'll just say one thing about it. Don't drop off, listeners. I swear. I'm going to be quick. I'm 17 hours in. I have been playing this game consistently. Like I downloaded the demo when it came out. There's like weeks where I only play it like on my lunch break at work, which, so I might play for 20 to 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And yet I'm engaged. Like and part of that is maybe because the story, it doesn't matter that much, but the missions are so bite-sized, and even the bigger ones, like I if I'm mid-mission, I pick up and I'm like, oh yeah, this was what was going on, and I get back into it. Like when I play video games like that, I always worry that I'm gonna just slowly kind of lose it, because I'm like, man, I'm making no progress. But I have enjoyed it a lot in small bites, so I think it's an awesome Switch game. I really do.
Nice.
It was funny because I was playing it over the weekend, and I kept thinking that I was done with the region that I was in, and I kept finding more stuff in that region, like more side quests and more like liberation missions and stuff like that. And I was like, man, this game just keeps on giving. And then I ended up back in like the first area, and I found like a couple side quests where like, the average level of the enemies was level 6, and that was a lot of fun because it was just like, I'm just going to have this one unit just clear this map, and I did it, and I was like, yeah, that's fun. And then I had this other moment, like, and this is all I'll say this week, but like, it was like one of these missions where you have a base that you're trying to defend, and there's like barricades, and there's a ballista that you can man, and there's a bunch of enemies coming from this one direction, and it's a flood of them, and you have to get past that flood of enemies to take this one point. But there's a forest above the thing, and I was like, okay, I'm going to set up these guys on the ballista to like thin out the herd over here. I'm going to get my cavalry unit out. It's like 2 people on cavalry, so they move really fast anyway. I gave them the item that makes them move 30% faster than that, and another item that conceals them from enemy view. And they just rode through the forest and came around the back way and just like took over the base. And I was like, yeah, that was really cool.
Yep.
And I love having those moments where I just feel like I am so smart. SMRT. Like, it's great.
Yeah. It's good. It's a good game.
Yes.
Sorry, the one other thing I have to say is, I don't. It's tough, man. That's the thing.
It's
play
hard.
this game, and you're just
It's
like,
really
yeah,
good. It's
there's
really
so much.
good.
Like
Yeah.
inventory management is so easy. Like,
Yes.
I don't check every mission, but like I think Justin kind of said the same thing. He's like, I get lazy. Like same.
Yeah.
But like every 3-4 missions, I'll be like, oh, let's just quickly scroll through my inventory. I'm like, oh, this sword seems stronger. Boom. Oh, it would be strongest on this character. Cool.
Yeah.
And the Gambit programming thing, that is not something I'm super into usually, but it's so simple, and it's just like they have it really well organized. Like it's really easy to find what you want. Like, like with my healer, I'm just like, okay, if someone's HP goes below 100%, then heal. If not, attack. When you're talking about Scarlet, and it's so easy to set up. Like it's not a pain in the ass at all, which is awesome. It's and I feel like that's a rarity.
Yeah. I also love that like you can very easily swap a piece of gear from another unit without it being a hassle. Like you can just say like, oh, this person has this thing, but I want it for this unit, and then just equip it, and it'll ask you like, hey, do you want to do this? It's like, yes, I do. And there you go. And like I had this one moment recently where I had this one like overall unit where they weren't doing that well overall. But one thing I'd seen like a tooltip where like it said like for Griffin Knights, it's like, hey, make sure that our initiative is high so that we can, because we have a thing where we make the whole party's initiative go up. So if you make sure that we go first, then it will just, the whole party will go first. And I was like, huh. And so I found like the one piece of gear that I had that boosted initiative. I gave it to her. And then all of a sudden that overall unit went from like being like so to just like wiping out like the entire enemy group, like without them even getting to get a hit off. Yeah. And I was like, I love the fact that like you can do that. If you once you start to really get into the nitty gritty and see what does what, you're rewarded for it. And it's so much fun. It's so good.
Right.
The Stage Select is made possible through the support and funding of viewers like you. Here are our wonderful patrons.
Justin, before we get to you,
okay,
why don't we thank some patrons?
Oh, okay, yeah, we can do that. That's fine.
Thank you. As always, we appreciate our patrons. You can go over to patreon.com/The Stage Select, I believe. It's in the show notes. If you would like to support the show. Every week we thank our executive producer tier. So we have Bookie.
We have Casey Curran.
We have David Portnoy.
We have Matt, insert clever name here, Jorgensen.
We have Philip Becker.
We have Stephen Lobo.
We have Xavier Krager.
Yep.
And also a very special thanks to Westen, who is our guest tonight, for joining at the Key Grip tier. Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate it.
I've
Patreon.
I've never given to a Patreon, honestly. So,
wow.
I've had one other one. But yeah, I was like, hey, I'm really enjoying this podcast, like legitimately.
Hell yeah.
So
thanks.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, it means the world. And also thought I'd put it out there, listeners, if you're not up for like a monthly thing, but you would like to throw some shekels our way, we do have a coffee as well. It's also in the link tree in the show notes. So that's another avenue if you just want to like send something our way. Like I've had listeners in the past like offer to like buy me a game or so, because like I have been in a financial bind recently, and I continue to be for the most, like, things are better-ish, but not great. So, like, that's definitely, if that's a thing that you want to do, that's an easy way to do it. Yeah, like, it helps us cover more games, helps us get better equipment for the show and whatnot.
Yeah,
and also,
we can buy Cadbury cream eggs with it.
We can do that. Or I can buy more sound effects and music for all the dumb shit that I do in this podcast, because it's becoming a problem.
Yeah, but Cadbury cream eggs are good for Justin. He likes to eat them with his mouth.
That is the one candy that is now too sweet for me. I can't handle it anymore.
Yeah.
And I used to love me a Cadbury cream egg.
It's you're weak-willed. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like Justin with open world games.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
Yeah. That's it. Cadbury cream eggs can sense your weakness and they get sweeter. That's what happens.
That must be it. Yeah.
That's it. Exactly.
Yeah. Justin, what have you been up to? God damn it.
Not a whole lot, really. It's been a busy week, and I've not really been exploring many video game opportunities this week. Well, anyway, I've been playing Dragon's Dogma 2, or I haven't been playing it. I played some more Dragon's Dogma 2. That's the key. I just gave it all away right there. I haven't been playing it. I played 4 hours more of it, and I don't know if that game is for me. Yeah. It's not that it's bad. It's just really weird. And I respect the hell out of it. I'm sitting here playing it. I'm like, I respect the fuck out of this game. Like, it's doing so many weird things. It is taking some really wild swings in some of the things that it does. And I'm just not sure I'm into it.
Right.
And I don't know what it is exactly that I'm not into it. But like, it reminds me a lot of when I played Elden Ring, though, where I'm like, I'm not 100% out yet. Like, I keep every now and then I'll think about it. I'm like, I still want to play that again. But like the last time I played it, I was like, I think I'm done with this, which I did with Elden Ring like 20 different times, where I was like, I think I'm done with this game. I don't want to go through the poison swamp. I don't want to do that. That sounds miserable. And then I'd be like, all right, fine. What if you get to the poison swamp and something really cool happens? And then something really cool would happen. And I'd be like, all right, I'm glad I went through that fucking poison swamp. This is kind of similar, where like, recently I've been like, I think I just picked a class that I don't like to play right now, because I'm like, I picked the archer class, and I was like, this is fine, but it's kind of like, it is what it is. I'm like, what if I was a fighter? That could be cool. Maybe that plays differently. I should try to do that. And then the cycle continues. It's very strange. Like, so I basically played up to where you get to the capital, which took me a little bit. Like, I did a little, like, some of the side stuff, and then I played up to that, and like, I really loved how they get you there. Like, You go to this little tiny ass town, and you talk to some men, and the men are like, okay, you should go do these things and learn about the game. And I'm like, okay, I'll go do those things and learn about the game. Like there's timed quests. Like if you take a quest from a guy and you don't do it right away, sometimes like the game warns you the first time. It's like, hey, if you take this quest and you don't just do it, that it could go bad. Like things could happen. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. So yeah, let's go do that right now then. That's, I like that warning up front. Like, hey, if you take a quest, and don't do it immediately, the shit could be bad. Like, cause the old video game brain is like, oh yeah, go get all the quests in town and then go do them out in the world. And this one's like, no, do not do that. You go do this one quest and then you come back. And then you maybe get another one. You see how it goes.
And I admire that about the game because the whole structure seems built around that, because it's like, we know that shit's going to go sideways for you out there. Yes. So that's why, like, you should just have one thing that you're shooting for whenever you go out on a trek.
So you did like what I would consider the intro town. And then it's like, okay, now a man comes and he's like, we're going to the capital, because you're claiming some weird shit. And I'm like, all right, we'll do that. And so I follow him to the capital, and I have a big army of people with me, and we're all fighting stuff along the way. I'm like, this is pretty cool. Like, but then as the more encounters I'm getting in and the more fights I'm doing, the more I'm like, oh, these controls feel really weird. I don't know what it is about them. They feel weird to me. Like, they're not bad, but they're weird. Mm-hmm. And that's, I don't know any other way to describe it other than that. Like, I'm just like running around and I'm like, this reminds me of a Souls game, but my kingdom for a fucking dodge roll right now. Like, I don't have that option on me. So I'm just like, oh, I think that maybe comes from like Elden Ring and things like that poisoning me for maybe ever, where I'm just like a giant monster is going to come at me. I'm like, well, where's my dodge roll to iframe out of this shit? And I don't have it. So like you fight your first like big boss in that game, like I guess in the open world section of it. And I'm sitting there like shooting him. I'm like, am I even doing damage to this thing? How are we winning? And then it like picks me up and throws me, and then it starts explaining crawling mechanics. I'm like, what is this game even do? What is happening? And then I got to town, and then a cutscene played, and I ran around the town, and I was like, I got stuff I should be doing here. This is interesting. And then I was like, and then yet again, I was like, and yet I feel like vastly overwhelmed again. And I think I'm going to put this down for now. But I may or may not be back. I'm not sure. Cause like it's a double-edged thing where I keep going like, I'm really intrigued by what this thing is like and what more is in it, but the controls feel weird to me. And that might just be a thing where I just need to play it more and quote, get good.
I mean, is it maybe also a matter of going in and tweaking settings that, you know, like, or is there not a configuration for like the mapping?
It's not the mapping. It's not the button mapping that's weird.
Okay. It's just the general feel.
It's the way the movement feels to me.
Okay.
That's movement feels very weird. It feels good in some spots, but it also feels weird. And again, that's the only way I can really describe it. And it's probably just me. Like everybody else in the world's probably like, I don't know, it's fine. I'm like, I don't know. It just feels like floaty. Like there's something about it. I can't. Maybe you'll have it and you'll be like, I don't know what that guy's talking about. Like, but to me, it feels weird. I don't know. And maybe I'm used to the precision of like a Souls thing, right? And it's a little bit different. It's not. It's its own thing. Which I can't stress enough how interesting I think that game is. Like it's doing some shit. Like it's got some weird, cool stuff going on.
The more I hear about it, the more intrigued I get because it's doing some very unique stuff.
Yeah, and I'm probably gonna end up playing that thing again at some point. Like, but like the last time I played it, I was like, I'm good on this for right now, but I may be back. And then like the very next day, I started thinking, I was like, I should change my class. Maybe that's it. Maybe just the archers are weird. but like I was rolling around with my little crew, and we were like all level 2 when we left that place. I think me and my main pawn, we were like level 7 or 8. I can't remember, but I didn't realize that the pawns weren't leveling up with me because I'm dumb. I know that's the thing, but it's like, oh
no, I just heard that on a podcast and I was surprised that like you're expected to like
to keep getting new ones. Yes. Yeah. And I was like, but now I'm like sad because I was like oddly attached to these two all of a sudden, because like I'm walking around, like we made this big ass journey, and I'm like, and like one of them was like, I feel really, I'm really happy you're around. Like this is nice traveling with you. I'm like, it has been real. We've been exchanging high fives after fights. It's been very nice. You know, this has been a good time. And then I got to town. I was like, oh, they're still level 2.
Back to the summoning stone with you.
We got to go back. Yeah, we're going to have to get some new guys. And I was like,
the first time I'm hearing this too. That's
yeah. I mean, well, it does explain it in the like the pawn, big breakdown of how that works. Like it does say, it's like you're going to be wanting to do this a lot.
And I guess that's actually, because that's kind of what that system kind of hinges on, right? Because that's how your pawn returns to you, having done adventures, right? Because if you just kept those pawns, then they would never like get that experience and then go back to their master and say like, hey, this is the stuff that I did. Right. So that does make sense now that I think about it.
Which maybe now that I've taken this is the other thing that brings me back in talking about it is I'm like, well, maybe somebody took my pawn and they did some stuff and now they'll know things, and maybe they'll be like, they'll know stuff, because I will say I love like the conversations that your little pawns are having. Most of them are really dumb, but they are like kind of fun in their own way. Like they'll just be like, hey, we're all different classes. Well, it's like, you are all different classes. That's funny that you noticed that. Or the one that made me laugh was like, we're all girls. And I was like, they noticed. I noticed what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. It's kind of fun. I will say one of those things that really annoys me, and maybe it's something I'm doing, but like sometimes like it'll just start dialogue with pawns walking around, and then they give you their whole life story. Not really. They just tell you what they'll do. They're like, I like to go searching for stuff and open treasure chests. And you're like, I'm trying to walk across this bridge, man. I don't fucking care about you. I really don't. It seems to do that automatically, but again, that I could just be really dumb and accidentally hitting a button that I don't know about.
A little known fact about all pawns is that they all worked as to advertise like the strip clubs in Vegas for a little bit.
Yeah.
So that's just what they do, right? You walk by and they're like, hey, like this is a thing, right? And it's just ingrained in them. Like,
it must be. They just, it's something, but at the same time, it's funny. Like, it's funny. I don't know. And it's a fascinating game. Absolutely fascinating game.
Is part of what's not working for you, because you had mentioned earlier, right, when we were talking about open world, about like not liking feeling lost, because Dragon's Dogma 2 feels like a game where you're supposed to feel lost.
Very much so, because once I got to town, and it's a bigger town. The capital's like, okay, no, this is a fucking town here, and I was like, oh, I don't know where to go or what to do. I'm like, I mean, I have a main quest where I'm like, it's like, this man will be in this bar at night. Go talk to him. And I'm like, okay, well, all right, go talk to the man at the bar, I guess, one of these days. But what else? What else am I supposed to do? And then I kind of walked around for a little bit, and I was like, oh, I gotta sleep or whatever. Oh man, I started feeling that like overwhelmed feeling and kind of like I don't actually know what I'm doing, and then I kind of turned the game off, and I was like, yeah. So I might go back in and figure it the fuck out one of these times, but for right now, I put it on to the side. But now, again, just talking about the stupid game makes me go, well, what if my pawn went on a little adventure and they know stuff now? Because I was teaching those pawns stuff. They're like, ooh, I didn't know that strategy for that monster, and now I know it. And I was like, I didn't even know I did anything cool. So, all right.
Yeah.
I just shot the man with a bow and arrow. That's all I did. That's it. I got in one fight where none of my hits did absolutely anything. That was not the greatest feeling in the world. But and I was like, I don't actually know what to do. But luckily, the mage lady shot fire at the ghost. I assume it was ghosts. And we won, and we were all happy about it. Yep, that's Dragon's Dogma 2. Thank you for your time. Other than that, like I said, I played the dumb wrestling game. Haven't really done much.
Yeah.
I've
done a little bit of stuff. I'd actually like to lead in with like a personal story.
Okay.
Because the nice thing about having a podcast is that you don't have to pay for therapy because you can just like get your shit out in the podcast, and it's much cheaper.
Is it though? The sound effects.
Yeah,
the sound effects do add up, but it's still but it's still cheaper than the actual like hourly rate or whatever.
Right.
Unless you use mediocre assistance, which doesn't mean anything to y'all right now, but the listeners know what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
Anywho. So friend of the show, John Golson, for the entire month of March had been doing an improv show every Saturday.
Okay.
And I really wanted to go check out his show. And I had forgotten, it's one of those things where it's like I had forgotten about it. And then I was like, and I had another thing, like another commitment, like on one Saturday. And I was like, oh yeah, because we did retrofits, right? I was like, well, I can't do it this weekend. So it's like, it has to be the last weekend of the month. And so I bought my ticket. And I had gotten into my head that like the venue was kind of up like around the north of town because he has moved kind of north of town, like I have. And so when I got in the car Saturday night to go to the show, I pop in the thing in the GPS, and it's like the trip is like almost an hour with traffic, and I'm like, oh, this is downtown, isn't it? Okay. And here the thing about me. I grew up very sheltered, didn't really spread my wings at all. And there was actually a moment when like I asked my mom if I could go drive downtown to go to a Lisa Loeb show. Like in a small venue. Cause like she was one of my favorite artists, still one of my favorite artists. And she was like, no. Right. And I was probably like 20 at this time.
Did she say no? And then she said, you only hear what you want to?
No, my mom wasn't that cool.
No. Fair.
But yeah, so I was just that type of, that's just how it was growing up, right? So like I never learned how to like navigate downtown.
Yeah.
And things have compounded since the pandemic started, where like I just don't go places anymore, right? And I'm going downtown, and I get to the venue and I see it, and I'm like, shit, there's no parking. Oh no. Cause like, that's the thing, right? That's the thing for me downtown. Yeah. I have not parallel parked since my driver's test when I was 18.
Yeah. Oh boy.
And, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, I put in the GPS, like, okay, I need to find parking. So I try to find parking. It's sending me all over the place. I'm not finding parking. I ended up on 6th Street, which is like the big downtown hotspot in Austin.
All right.
And is that where the circus bar is? I've been there.
I don't know. I don't go downtown.
There's a slide.
If there's a bar, it's probably on 6th Street in Austin.
Yeah.
Like that, or a popular bar rather.
Well,
like
look up the bar with the slide. Here, I'll look it up. You continue your story. I'm curious now.
I love the amount of during the podcast work Justin does. Just looking stuff up.
Just looking stuff up.
Yeah.
It's my job.
Yeah. And so I'm getting more and more frazzled, right? Like I'm just like, I can't, like, I don't know where to go. Like at one point, like the GPS was like, oh, turn here. And it was like not even a road, but it said it was a road. And like it had a name, it was a named street, but like I was actually driving on not a street. I don't know how that works. And there's also like a shit ton of construction downtown always. And it's Saturday night, so it's bumping. And I got to a point where I was like, no, abort. And so I actually went, it was like close to closing time at the mall. So I drove to the mall to get shitty Thai food to go. Because I think I've said, well, not on this show, but I've definitely said on Nerds Without Pants to you, Justin, that there is a particular place at the mall that serves this this certain type of shitty Thai food that really hits the spot in a way. And so if I happen to be in the area, I'll get some to go. And so that's what I did. And I went home and I ate that and watched some YouTube. And I went into like a deep depression the entire week because I hate like, I don't like that I'm this way, right? It's like, I'm a grown ass man. I should be able to like navigate downtown. And also like, you know, I just realized like just how much the pandemic fucked me up. Cause like I used to do stuff, right? Like I used to go to the movies. I used to hang out with friends. I used to go on little trips, and I used to do things and go places and have adventures. And like, I don't do that anymore. And, like it felt awful. And I, you know, when you said that like you don't like being lost in real life, like that was the feeling, right? Yeah. Like I don't know where I am. I don't know, like even if I find a place to park right now, I don't actually know how to get back. Oh, finding to the venue miserable. Yeah. Welcome to my life every day. This is why I used to show up. Like I would go to concerts very, very early, and that was part of the reason is because I didn't know where the fuck I was going. And and so I would be like, let me figure out and it's like, do I need to show up 5 hours early to do that? No, but I'm going to do it anyway. And I'm going to find everything. And then I'll go walk around the city and figure things out. And that's what I would do. But that, you know, this was pre any of that stuff. Yeah. Yeah, no, I get you. It's not fun. It's not great. Especially finding parking in a city. Like, oh my God, that's miserable. Usually, like when I've gone to like shows or concerts or stuff like that, it's usually not a problem because there's usually like a actual parking structure or a parking lot nearby. Yes. But this particular place was like deep enough downtown to where there wasn't anything that around. Cleveland is like that. If you go downtown, like in a lot of these cities, like most places, like you said, if you go to like you're going to a stadium or something like that, an event like that has a big venue, most of the time the parking's, right around there. But that's because they know people are going to fucking need to park. First, got cars, they're coming there, they're going to park. We're going to chop some serious money for that shit, but whatever. But like, if you're going to like a little like fucking bullshit place in the middle of Cleveland, then you're gonna be like, oh, I gotta fucking park like 3 blocks down because I don't know, that's the only parking garage I can find that's has a sign that says it's open, right? Because I'm dumb. Or even more fun is when you're like me and you don't, your city doesn't have a parking garage. We do have a parking garage. I take that back. We did have a parking garage, but you just park for free wherever. It doesn't matter. And then you go to Cleveland. It's like, hey, if you want to park here, you're gonna fucking pay for it, and like in the spot, like they got a meter and shit. Right. And you're like, oh, that's terrifying. Yeah, because like I don't know how long I'm gonna be here. Like, especially like my experience was in Cleveland Heights. There's a place. It's called the Grog Shop, and the only parking I could find, and it's like kind of like I almost want to say like Austin, but I'm not really familiar with Austin, except now I know the Aquarium on 6th Street. That's a bar that exists, but I don't think that's the one you were talking about. You were talking about well, you were talking about Unbarleavable, I think. That's the one with the slide. Yes, the giant giraffe. That's on 76th Street, apparently, or 76 Rainy Street, wherever that is. Rainy, Rainy. People say Rainy's a big deal, apparently. Oh, there you go. Well, now we know. See, I've never heard of Rainy Street, which is how like disconnected I am from downtown Austin. But anyway, it was hectic. Yeah, but anyway, I parked at this. I was going to see a band, and the Grog Shop is a small little piece of shit, almost dive bar that just happens to have like bigger indie bands, I guess, playing there. The stage is like up to your like shin. That's the stage. Good luck. If there's a mosh pit, you will feel like you're going to break your legs. It's a real good feel. Yeah. So put your foot directly on the stage and kick the people's equipment on it. I'm not kidding. This is the place. It's wild. Fun though. But anyway,
so I found a parking place like right outside of it. And it's like, I'm at this concert like 6 hours early because I'm going to go find food and stuff like that. I'm going to go fuck around and do some stuff and figure things out. How much money do I have to put in this parking meter for 6 hours of parking? It's like, and then you have to figure out how that works. It's terrifying for people like me.
Yeah, me too.
You city people, I don't know how you do it.
So Detroit is notorious for having way too much parking.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's easier here, but yeah, I highly recommend the Park Was app because I was the same way, and that's changed my life. You pre-book your parking, and if you have a specific event, usually it's in the time frame where the event's going to be. So if I'm going to a Pistons team,
yes.
So yeah, definitely recommend that.
Yeah. Okay. Duly noted.
Yeah, like when I went to go to Final Fantasy Distant Worlds last fall, like it was a big enough venue to where there was parking near-ish by, but still far enough like where it's like, oh, this is a bit of a walk, like especially for my work from home ass.
Guys, I have a favorite parking story. Can I tell my favorite parking story?
Go off, dude.
All right, great. While we're here. All right, so there was this one concert venue. It was called Peabody's. It was in Cleveland. I don't think it's open anymore. It was kind of the same as it was bigger than the Grog Shop, but smaller than other places, right? You'd get, some semi-popular bands in there, a lot of really shitty rap groups that nobody cared about, stuff like this. Doesn't matter. I showed up to a concert one day, and there's parking right outside of it. They have their own little parking lot. It is their shit, right? It is, you pull up, and a man greets you and he say, "It will be $5 to park here. Are you parking for the show?" And you're like, "Yes." And he's like, "Great. You park here." Okay. All right. So you pull up. I made him sound a lot more friendly. He's just like, "Yo, what up, man? It's $5. And I'm like, "All right, cool. Here you go." And then you park. That's it. So you get out of your car in this place, and then another man approaches you. Okay. And now this man looks like he is a homeless person. I can't confirm that he is or not, but he looked like he was. I don't want to make assumptions about what this man was doing, but he will walk up to you and the man will go, "Hey man, I'm just out here, I'm looking after these cars, I'm making sure nothing happens to them tonight. So if you could just slip me like $2, like just $2, like just a couple bucks, cause I'm just trying to keep things sane out here. I'm just trying to keep things, tight and cool." And you're like, "I feel like if I don't give you money right now, you're going to rob my car. So here's $5, sir.
I appreciate the hustle.
Don't break." Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
I was like, and then I walked away. I was like, that guy's a genius. Holy shit. He's really good at what he does.
Yeah.
And that was the first time. And every time I show up, I'm like, "Hey man, how's it going?" I'd be like, no, don't say no more. Here's $5, sir. You have a wonderful evening. And he'd be like, "Thank you, man. God bless you." And I'm like, "God bless you too, sir." Yeah. And that's my favorite parking lot. It's kind of sad that it's not there anymore, but the parking lot might be there. I don't know what that building is. Now I'm going to Google that. Go ahead. Carry on amongst yourselves here.
You put me in a weird spot. Well, no, I guess it's fine. You can look that up, Justin.
You're fine. Go ahead.
But because I wanted to let you know that the ratings came in.
Oh, good.
So let me grab Morgan so that he can bring him. Hold on.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
Morgan, where are you at?
Is he not around?
I think he's dead in the corner over there.
Well, listen, if we he might not be dead in the corner, Julian. If we listen, he might have teleported though.
No, he's over there in the corner. There's like a little item flashy thing sticking out of his body. I know he's dead.
Oh well, yeah, he's dead then. Yeah. What are you gonna do? God
damn it! All right, fine. I'll just look him up myself. Okay.
I'm blown away that Peabody's is still here. This is blowing my fucking mind right now. Wait, maybe it's not. Oh no, this is their Facebook page and it's been closed for years. I'm sorry, the ratings came in. Continue.
All right. Yes, we have one review this week. This comes to us from Alpha Nerd 1UP. 5 stars. Title is Did You Know? And the review reads as thus.
Okay.
Did you know you can review podcasts from the Apple Podcasts app now? You don't need to be logged in on your computer anymore. It's never been easier to review your favorite podcasts, like the Stage Select. Julian Titus, host of the Stage Select. Parentheses. This is going to be a funny bit later on.
You rated your own podcast.
I did. I'm not above that shit, Justin.
I mean, that's fine.
But also, I thought it would be a funny bit to like use this time as a PSA to listeners to say, "Yo, you got an like a iOS device. You don't have to like be on the computer. You can just review it from the podcast app on the device. Even if you don't use it as your podcast app, you can just download it real quick, get in there, review your favorite show, obviously us, and then delete.
I feel like you've sullied
the show.
I'm underwhelmed. Let me put it that way. How many characters are you allowed in a podcast review?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, I'll get back to you on that one, Julian. And Justin, we'll see where that goes. The whole point of the Stage Select is how underwhelmed can you possibly be at Julian Titus? That is the entire arc of the show. That's fair. That's completely fair.
I just rated Stage Select 5 stars on Spotify. You can't do a write up on Spotify, but
that's true. That's true. You
can do a write up from the app apparently, but maybe not. I don't know.
No, I'm on the app. I can't do it, but you do have 3 5-star ratings. So congrats on that. Unbelievable only has a 3.6 rating actually.
Yeah,
so that's unfortunate.
It's not rated highly.
It's a shame because like the name of the bar is right up my alley. Like that. That's my shit.
Yeah, I hated it when I read it, but I knew it was the one that he was talking about. I'm really confused because there's a Mr. Peabody's Pub. There's a Mr. Peabody's Pub and Grill. I'm guessing that's the same one. It's a karaoke bar. Is it? Oh, it's not that, right? Oh, come on.
Look, sometimes if you want to survive in business, you have to make some hard choices, Justin.
It can't be that, Julian. Oh, no, and it ended its 30-year run with October 1st. That was in 2013. It's been closed for like almost over 10 years now.
Oh, okay.
This is an old venue.
It didn't last long enough to be turned into a gastropub.
Yeah, I had a group of friends that had a really terrible rap group that performed there, and then I went to that show to kind of make fun of them behind their backs because they didn't really know who I was. I was kind of like friends of friends, and everybody was going, and I was like, guess I'm going too. And then there was like some sort of weird fight that happened. It wasn't like a fight. It was just like there was a band in front of them that was upset. And then they played, and then they were also upset. And I was very confused at what was going on. It was just people being upset over them both being rap groups and having to go on before each other. This is what happens when you let white people rap. It's terrible. Don't do it.
It's funny you say that because as I've gotten deeper into the VTuber rabbit hole on YouTube, I keep getting recommended videos of rappers reacting to Calliope Mori's rapping because, she's pretty good for a white girl that's also an anime girl. But it's all white rappers that are reacting to her rapping. And I'm like,
yeah,
okay.
You'll have that.
You'll have that. No shade. It's just like, I don't know if you're the best to actually like, comment on her skills.
I shit you not, Julian, and I'm sorry to not continue on with this, but the rap group that was not my friend's group had a song titled Neo. Like what? Not about the Matrix though. Do you know what Neo stood for?
Oh, it stands for something. No, I thought maybe it was for Neopets.
Yes. No. If only. That would have been a far more interesting song. No, it stood for Northeast Ohio.
Okay, there you go.
It was one of the worst things I've sat through in my entire life. Man. I've sat through some garbage shows. The more I go over it, oh God, what is wrong with me? All right, let's not unpack this anymore.
Let's not unpack this.
No.
And now, Video Game Masterpiece Theater, with your host, Thaddeus Whippleshire.
Good evening. My name is Thaddeus Wimpleshire. The distance between love and terror can sometimes be as thin as the bars on a jail cell. That is certainly the case for James Sunderland, protagonist of Silent Hill 2, released by Konami in 2001. Poor James lost his wife Mary years ago, and yet he cannot help but see the resemblance on the face of Maria as they flee from the denizens of the dark that inhabit Silent Hill. Performing this iconic exchange between James and Maria are none other than the incomparable Julian Titus and Mitchell Mann. Feel the tingle go up your spine as these titans of the theater recreate this scene as only they can.
James, honey, did something happen to you after we got separated in that long hallway? Are you confusing me with someone else? You were always so forgetful. Remember that time in that hotel?
Maria?
You said you took everything, but you forgot that videotape we made, didn't you? Oh, yeah. I wonder if it's still there.
How do you know about that? Aren't you Maria?
I'm not your Mario. No, not this name. Oh, yeah.
So, you're Maria?
I am, if you want me to be. Oh, yeah.
All I want from you is an answer.
It doesn't matter who I am. I'm here for you, James. You see, I'm real. I'm as real as it gets, and I'll hit you in the mouth. Oh, yeah.
This has been another installment of Video Game Masterpiece Theater, with your host, Thaddeus Whippleshire.
Instead, I would like to talk a little bit about Persona 3 Reload.
Okay.
Because, as I had said, starting in April, I wanted to start playing that game in semi-real time based on the calendar in the game.
Yeah.
So this week, I started the game because I looked up a guide and the story starts in April of 2009, which was kind of cool to see. Like, I guess, you know, it took place in the year that the game came out originally.
Yeah.
But now it's kind of just like kind of a refreshing thing to go back to because, like, even though it's a remake, right? Like, it's still got like the nuts and bolts of that original release. There's just something refreshing about. Yeah, I mean, obviously this is 2 years after the first iPhone comes out, but in Japan, it took a really long time for that type of phone to gain any traction. So, like, everybody's still on their really cool flip phones. You know, they're texting one-handed with one thumb, like I used to be a pro at. There's a part where you can play like an MMORPG, and like the first person you meet is talking in extremely 2009 leet speak, and I'm like, this is a thing for me. I'm enjoying this.
I'm glad they didn't like try to modernize any of that. Like, that's great. Yeah. That's awesome. Like that's fantastic. Cause they could have easily been like, no, let's update all this stuff. And I'd have been like, oh, but that was, I mean, it was so of its time. Like, it was one of the most My Chemical Romance inspired things I've ever seen in my life. Like, just the main character alone, just his whole look, just everybody's vibe.
Always has his headphones on.
Yes. The fact that you have to basically commit suicide to summon your persona every time, it's phenomenal. Yeah. It's so of its era that, like, it has to stay there. It was great for that reason. Like, I loved at that time being like, I remember when that game came out and renting it and being like, oh, this is really good. I really need to pick this game up because I want to play the rest of it. And it was really, really hard to find where I live. I had to go to the store and order it like from like the local game shop here, which I am still unclear as to whether or not they're open. I really should check into that. But I ordered it and he's like, what is this game? Cause they didn't know what it was. It was kind of, you know, I was the guy who walked in and ordered the obscure JRPGs all the time. And I was like, listen, in this game to fight people, you have to put a gun to your head and shoot yourself. And then the monster comes out and fights it for you. And they're like, what the fuck, man? And I'm like, it's great. It's really good. It's really, really good. And then you walk around and have and do high school stuff, and they're like, what? It's like, it's great. It's really good. I really like it.
Even knowing going in that that's how you summon your personas in this game, I was not prepared because like your character has the biggest look of bliss on his face, like when he fires the gun at his head.
Yep.
And I honestly thought that they were going to change that for this re-release.
Oh, no.
I was like, you can't do that in 2024. No, but they did that in 2024.
Oh, they did.
Yeah.
That's great.
It's interesting because for listeners, like I rented Persona 1 back in the day, could not perceive it, barely got into it, didn't touch any of the other games until Persona 5 Vanilla. Like I played through that all the way. And then replayed Persona 5 Royal with 100% guide to do all the stuff. And after I finished it, I was like, okay, no, Persona is definitely now a series that I am interested in, right?
Yes.
And I was going to play that HD re-release of Persona 3 that was released last year. But when I saw they were remaking, I was like, well, I'll just play the remake. And then I'll go back to Persona 4 Golden HD. That's fine.
Yeah.
You're smart, by the way, because I couldn't stop myself. And I played it, and we'll talk more about it. But yeah, I wish I had.
Right. Well, yeah, maybe we'll see. Like, it's interesting seeing just how much of Persona 5 is in this game, because obviously this was like the first of what's considered the modern Persona games where it has this type of format with like the social links and the exploring around town and stuff like that. And I'm sure they added a bunch of stuff to the remake to sand off some of the edges to the original release, but not a lot of edges, and I'll get into that in a second. But a lot of what I recognize from Persona 5 is very much present in Persona 3 in a way that I was really surprised at. And I decided, like, since this is probably going to be the only time that I play Persona 3, right? Like, I'll do it with 100% guide, because like I've already resigned myself to the fact that when Persona 6 comes out, I will buy the release and I will play that blind and just beat it. And then when the inevitable re-release comes out with the extra content, that will be my victory lap where I play it with a guide, see and do everything, and, put a pin on it.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at this guide, and the first night that you're able to go to Tartarus on your own, it says, get to level 22, which is as far as you can go. Yeah. And be level 12 for all three characters, and also have enough stuff to sell when you get out to have 40,000 yen. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of a tall order. And so, I get all the way up to floor 22, right? And like I'm limping at this point, right? Like I'm almost out of SP. I've got like a handful of SP left, but I've used all of my SP items that I had. So I'm like, okay. I got to floor 22, didn't quite make it to level 12. I'm level 10. That should be fine. Right. Yeah. So I did save in Tartarus before I, just to make sure. Right. Get out, do my story stuff, go to sell my equipment, and I'm like 12,000 yen short. And I'm like, I remember from the Persona 5 guide that like when they tell you to hit numbers. When they tell you to hit numbers, you hit those numbers. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. So I'm like, well, shit, I guess I got to go back to that previous save and go grind. And so I literally like went back through all 22 floors again, like with the respawned enemies. And it also respawns like all of the breakable lanterns that sometimes drop items. Oh, okay. So like, I was going through, but at this point, I got to a point where like everybody was 100% out of SP.
Yeah.
And and Weston, I'm glad you're here because I know you wrote something about like the MP system being a thing that you dislike. Yeah. Which I disagree with, but in this situation, it makes the game very interesting because you were like, I found myself just like being way more strategic than I normally am in an RPG and being like, okay, wait, hold on. I've got to I can knock down these types of enemies with a regular melee attack. So let me focus down this other character that I can't knock down because I don't have any magic left. Let me get them out of here and then knock these other two down with slashes so that then I can do an all-out attack and get shuffle time, because Persona 3 is a much more brutal RPG than I was expecting.
Oh, yeah, it is.
You don't get money from battles.
No.
The only time that you get money from battles is if you do execute a shuffle time and you happen to get a card that gives you money and you choose that card. Because sometimes you'll be in a situation where it's like, I want that money, but I need the healing because we're running low on items now and we don't have healing magic anymore.
Right.
And it got to a situation where it's like, literally, like, I was like, okay, I hit the numbers, right? Like, I was level 12 and I had to get to the teleporter on this floor, but there was one enemy encounter in the way. And I was like, okay, that should be fine. One last battle, we're good. But the enemy in that battle was this beetle enemy that has very high defense, hits like a truck, and hits like, usually gets like 2 turns in a row. And I barely got through that sumbitch without everybody dying. Yeah. And like, you know, limped across the finish line.
Yeah.
But it was like a very cool way of like experiencing the game.
Yeah.
And definitely like because I looked ahead, and so the next time I have to go to Tartarus, they want me to get to like level 40 something, 47, I think. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to really like manage my SP way better this next time that I go in.
Right. Right.
And Weston, that's kind of the thing that I've been missing with RPGs. And I've been thinking about this as I've been replaying the Final Fantasy series for the Gamer Looks at 40 interview series, is that like, I miss that feeling of like having to manage my party, right? And like being like, okay, this is an expedition, right? Like, we're going to delve into this dungeon. We got to manage our resources, right? Like, as a person who is like a habitual item hoarder, I was using items like all over the place in this run of Tartarus because I was like, I had to, like, it forced me to engage with that. And I was like, this is kind of like, I think, how I'm supposed to be playing this game. Like it actually feels pretty good.
I think the Persona system, with the structure of it, where you're trying to get as far as you can, like, it makes sense. Like you said, there is fun in like managing it, you know? Mm-hmm. So I actually don't have a problem with that in Persona. I think most standard turn-based RPGs in particular, like, the system bugs me because it just inherently wants you to just hit attack over and over as much as you can, and then you don't really experience the battle system. Like, when I wrote that article, like, I was comparing Infinite Wealth with Rebirth, and it's like, you know, the most fun part about Infinite Wealth is using those area of effect attacks and just fucking people up, you know? I'm gonna hit 5 guys with this mega swing, you know? But I don't do that most of the time, and they have a little bit of that with the standard attacks, but man, it's just, especially if they're a couple levels higher than you, like, I've had Infinite Wealth random battles that took me longer than like some Unicorn Overlord stages.
I believe that. Yeah.
It's just like, they're like I ran into a fight the other day. It was like they were 2 levels higher than me. And I'm like, you know, I'm not like, I did use a little MP, but I didn't go nuts. But I was like, oh my God, this fight took me like 10 minutes. Like, it was literally like, there's a Unicorn Overlord stage. The whole RTS that I'm like through a stage, like within this, and it's not a boss fight. It's a random fight, you know? So,
I will say that Infinite Wealth is balanced a lot better than you know, Yakuza 7, but when you get into a situation where enemies are just a few levels higher than you, it becomes a much different situation. But I actually use my abilities all the time on Infinite Wealth. Like, and I think because I have started to divorce myself of that impetus to not use items, right? So like, I will exhaust my resources in the battle if I need to, and then heal up with items. Or infinite wealth is actually surprisingly stingy on like restaurants that you can go visit to actually sit down and eat. Oddly, but I would take advantage of that as well.
They don't have as many deals with things in Hawaii. That's why, there's not as many promotional things going on.
But the thing is too with infinite wealth, like your money's so valuable. Like I was literally just playing this a few hours ago, and I went into a mall, and I went to that high quality weapon shop, and I realized I had enough money for literally one like top tier weapon. You know what I mean? And I was like, and I'm in like chapter 11 I think now, or 12, and I'm like, that's crazy. Like I'm not far from the end of the game. Money is very valuable in that game. So it's like you also don't necessarily want to do that because then you can't upgrade your character. You can get the dungeons give you some MP stuff. So I guess if you have a good podcast, that's not as bad. But no, I do think the MP system works well with Persona. There is a management thing, and it's fast. I mean that's the thing too. The combat's pretty fast, so that helps.
It depends on the game, I think.
For sure,
it really does. Persona is trying to do. It's like, you're gonna. They want you to like feel that drain as you go through it. So you're not, because they don't want you to do it all in once. And obviously there's blocks. You can't go a certain amount of, a certain amount into the dungeon, but they want you to do it over multiple nights and stuff like that. The 100% guys are like, do it all in one. And you're like, oh, that seems crazy. Cause like first time I played that, I would get to a point where I'm like, okay, we're pretty beat up. I think this is where I call it and go back and, do this thing.
And there were definitely times when I was grinding from level 10 to 12 where I was like, oh, I don't know if this is in the cards for me, right? And but I got enough like healing items dropping from like breakable items, and also the shuffle thing. Like I would get some like party heals when I really needed it. But very interestingly, right? I stopped getting like SP item drops, which are also they're rare to begin with, right? But like I had gotten a couple in the early levels, but then also, very noticeably, is that there is not an option to regain SP from the shuffle card system. So I was like, okay, no, this is a very like
that's
intentional thing.
That's
right?
an intentional thing. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
And also like, because there's certain things about the game that are like, I was not expecting to be as harsh as they are.
Oh,
right.
They are
so
harsh. 3 is harsh.
Yeah. Well, so you're already splitting the experience points between your party members. So whatever number you see is getting split by 3 to 4 or whatever.
Yeah.
But also what they don't tell you, and I had to look this up, is that unless you are like the same level as the enemy or lower, you are not actually getting the experience that it shows that you're getting. You're getting a percentage of that.
Yeah.
So like as I was regrinding those earlier floors, I would like, it was taking forever to actually grind up, but it gave me the time to also re-break those items to get more stuff to sell. Right. So it ended up working out in the end. But one thing, and I know you're curious about this, Justin, because I know it was the biggest complaint of Persona 3, which was like Tartarus overall as a design, right? Like the repetition of it.
Yeah, very repetitious. Yes, absolutely.
That was why I burned out too.
Yeah. From what I understand, as you go to the different areas, they become very different.
Yeah.
But dude, in each section, it makes Mementos look like just the most expertly designed dungeon you've ever seen.
Oh, wow.
It is so fucking boring.
Yeah. They didn't change that. They're like, nah.
Like,
fuck off.
It's a bummer, dude.
Yeah, no, I to some degree I appreciate that. I don't know why they're like, no, it's supposed to be boring. You fuck off. You do it.
Yeah.
You sit here and you like it, and it's like, but I don't want to be here. And it's like, well, that's the point. You're not supposed to want to be here. It's a bad place to be.
Right.
Like, oh.
And then there's other things, and I think this was added for the remake. And Westen, you can definitely let me know if this is the case or not, since you played the other version. But like, there's this item called like a Twilight Shard that can be used. There's 2 purposes for it. there are certain chests that you will find on floors that require X number of Twilight shards to open, and they have good shit in them.
Yeah.
There's also a clock on certain floors that if you give 7 shards to, it will basically do a one-time party refill of like all your resources, right? And I don't know if that's a one-time, like once you turn on the clock, like from that point on, when you get to a new clock, it'll be turned on already, or if you have to give it 7 every time, because the Twilight shards do not drop in battle. I didn't find any in Tartarus at all. I have found them just wandering around like the various locations outside of Tartarus.
Right.
But like in that first like 22 floor run, and probably this is because now that I think about it, they probably didn't want me to do it in one shot, right? Because I was supposed to have gone back out and gotten some. But even so, it was like, I don't have 7. I've got like 3, right?
Yeah.
So like the idea of spending 7 on a very welcome, like full party heal.
Yeah.
You know, but at the expense of like probably 5 chests full of shit that's probably like just as useful is like a really hard choice to make.
Yeah.
But a very interesting one. Like,
right.
You know,
right.
Again, it is an uncompromising RPG.
Yeah. I don't remember that in the old game, but I would not doubt if it was there. But it's been so long since I played it.
It
I don't think it was.
I played, what was it? I think it was called Persona. It was the portable version.
Portable,
they put the portable one out. They do that one usually because it's kind of easy to port because they don't have to do the open world part, and the other thing is it has the female protagonist in it, and that's the only one that does. Oddly enough, it's kind of weird, but that's what they did.
Yeah.
Yeah. They didn't want to do that in this game. Apparently, they were like, "No, we're not doing that." Yeah, but yeah, I don't remember that in the first game.
Yeah, it felt like a newer edition.
Yeah,
and I'm gonna have to look up like, okay, so if I feed this clock 7, is it a one time thing and that opens like that turns on like all the clocks in Tartarus?
Yeah,
or is that every time that I want to use one? Because that's a big ask.
Yeah,
but at the same time, it's like, I would have loved to have had that towards the end of that, level grind that I did last night.
Yeah, I would like to make clear that I've never finished Persona 3. I always had like a huge hang up, and I know I've explained this on the old show, but I'll explain this again with Persona games in particular, where I would always feel like I'm missing something because there was so much stuff that I wasn't going to see that I would start to go, oh no, I'm fucking this up. And then I'd quit.
I mean, it's so easy to do that.
It's so easy to know. Yeah.
With this guide, right? It's like, as I'm doing certain things, like I never would have even known that this was a part of the game. Right. But it's like, no, but you got to start this here so that you can do like literally like one of the things was like, oh, go to the net cafe and buy all the software. And I'm like, and I went to the location. I'm like, net cafe? I didn't see a net cafe. And then I was like, oh shit, there's a 3rd floor to this structure. I don't think I ever would have noticed that because I did my like exploration of the area and I didn't see that the staircase went up to another floor. Right. So if I'd been playing this blind, I probably never would have found that shop.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Until the game said, hey, you need to go here, right? Which I don't think it's going to say that.
I don't know if it might. Like somebody might point you in that direction. It's been so long I don't remember. But yeah, like I would always get paranoid about missing stuff and start to feel like I'm like, oh, I'm definitely fucking this up. Mm-hmm. And I would kind of get overwhelmed and quit. And then 5 Royal or whatever, I that came out and I was like, okay, I really want to play this, but you know what? I'm gonna get a guide for it and I'm gonna see if that helps. And it did.
Yes.
That was the way to go because that's what I also brought back that old feeling of sitting down and playing a Final Fantasy game or any game like that with a strategy guide in my lap and just being like, okay, now I do this thing and this thing and this thing and this thing's over here. I always loved that. That's one of my favorite things in video games is, and some people will look at that as cheating, and I don't care. I'll cheat all I want.
Enjoy the game how you want to enjoy it. Like
I'll cheat in your face. That's what I'll do. Doesn't make any sense.
Justin will make a literal cuckold of you. He'll do it.
I won't do that. I won't. Hold on, Julian. Hold on.
Oh, I didn't mean to start a thing.
Hold on. Judges. Yeah, no. All right. Well,
the fuck
Julian,
was that?
You just triggered the Shasta McNasty alarm.
Okay.
And that's when you say something I consider kind of gross. And
oh man, so this is gonna be a thing a lot, huh?
This is gonna be a thing a lot. Shasta McNasty
this didn't pop off during Videoverse, by the way.
Well, you see, I just invented the Shasta McNasty alarm this week. And it might have had something to do with previous things that happened. So I was like, I need something for that. So for those that don't know, Shasta McNasty was a sitcom on UPN. It starred, Carmine Giovinazzo, Jake Busey, that's why that name came up earlier, and Dale Godboldo. They were a rap rock band, Julian, and they went to LA because they got money, and then the record label didn't have the money, or didn't exist, but they had money now, so they got rent, and zany things ensue. And now that you've triggered the alarm, Julian, we have to read out the synopsis to one of the episodes of Shasta McNasty.
Okay.
And we all have to live with it. Okay. This is what you did. Okay. This is the synopsis straight from Wikipedia. For the first episode, it's the pilot episode. Brothers Outland. This came out in 1999. Via Scott talking. This is just what they say. Via Scott talking to the fourth wall, we discover how the guys ended up in L.A. and discover that since they lost their record contract, they've spent a lot of time scoping out the babes. Now it does go on to explain. Scott catches Randy and Dennis spying on the girl in the apartment opposite. When they discover that her boyfriend is cheating on her, Scott asks the others to help him plant a pair of Diana's underwear to ensure that she breaks up with him. With Dennis and Diana on the lookout, Randy helps Scott get inside her apartment, where he ends up having a fight with her parrot, Buster. This guest starred Mary Lynn Rajskub as Diana. She was there. Mark Daniel Cade, Lionel D. Carson. Cindy Margolis was in this episode, Julian. And the Big Show Paul White was also there.
Okay. Most downloaded woman on the internet, except if unless you, but only if you're not talking about anything porn related.
So I'm depressed that I had to read that. Don't make me trigger it again, Julian. Don't make me put it.
No, yeah, I'm gonna have to watch my words.
Yeah,
I'm really excited that I still had Jake Busey's tab up.
Yeah,
I just discovered he was in Rust, the tragic movie where like Baldwin killed the dude.
Oh yeah, right.
Oh man, life has not gone Jake Busey's way.
It really. He was in this show. Man, it was not good. Yeah. Oh man. Well, that's been our punishment. That's been the Shasta McNasty alarm. We'll now untrigger it here.
I'm gonna close my Jake Busey tab. I'm also gonna close this Bob Seger teeth tab. And
these are good tabs. I like these tabs.
And 2020 Democratic primary. I just closed all those tabs.
These are good tags. These all go together. This all makes sense.
Speaking of which, did y'all have any other nominees that you had thought of for the video game presidential primaries?
Was I supposed to be thinking about things?
Is Aloy for Republican?
Republican? Huh. I mean, I'll allow it.
I don't know. I'm down the middle on that. I'm not sure. She might be a third party.
The thing is that like Republicans are hate women's rights, and I feel that that's like the antithesis of Aloy's whole thing.
Yeah, she's not like a grifter.
And she's also real into the environment.
Yeah, that's true.
See.
But she's like
put her down
kind
for
of a cop. She has cop vibes.
She is kind of a cop.
She is kind of a cop.
Yeah.
But so is the vice president right now. So
yeah,
I'm gonna pencil her in for the Democrat nomination.
I think what's his name? Johnny Silverhand is definitely a Republican.
Dude, that's fucked up.
He is.
He's like even more left than I am.
No. Listen, that's what he wants you to think. Okay, because he acts that way. He's like the hardcore conspiracy theorist people, like where he's just really into that. Yeah. See. Yeah.
In 2077, he's extremely liberal, but in 2024, he's so down with Q.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like just the conspiracy rabbit hole that man's on is wild.
All
but
right,
then again, all of
case.
his conspiracies are true in that thing. But you know, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Let's see. I that's about all I got right now.
That's
I might
good.
come up with more later.
Yeah. And like I said, listeners, hit us up everywhere that you can hit us up at. And
can Jerry Rice be in there?
No, let's stick to actual video game characters that don't exist outside of video games.
Well, Nidus might be dead, and that was his dog. Can Nidus be in the Democratic Party? I think he'd be good at it.
Yeah, we can put down Nidus.
Okay.
Wait, no, but he was a dog. No. Like,
what dogs can't run for president?
He was a real dog.
What country? But he might be dead now.
You can nominate. You can nominate a video game dog. You can nominate Rush.
All right. Oh, I actually got a good one. Revolver Ocelot is definitely a Republican.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. That. Yeah. Okay. All right. That's
how many
all I got.
Republicans you're nominating, Justin.
It's because I can smell them.
All right.
What are you gonna do?
Melisandre from Unicorn Overlord. What party is she in? I mean, she needs birth control. She needs accessible birth control. So she's a Democrat.
She's a Democrat.
Yeah, definitely. She's great.
She's also very pro sex worker and.
Yes. Oh yes.
She's great. Yeah.
Yeah, I love her.
She doesn't want to be. She just wants to be. When you get consorts, she just wants to be around. That's all. That's
she doesn't even want to be queen. Like,
no. She's like, no.
You just call when you want some, and I will be there.
Yeah, just holler at me. Yeah, it's cool. Don't worry about it. Like, okay, fair.
Leon Kennedy for Republican.
Yeah,
I
can see that. Yeah, he's a cop. Yeah.
That's just the tell. That's all I got.
That's good.
There's a lot of cops in video games. What are you going to do? What's to be done?
Cool. All right. And then, so let me just recap what we have so far. And again, listeners, feel free to give us some more nominees, and then we will start to whittle the list down, through the primaries until we get to our presidential candidates. For the Democrats, we have Barrett from Final Fantasy VII, Liara from Mass Effect, Particio from Octopath Traveler 2, Everett Clare from Disco Elysium, Clive Rosfield from Final Fantasy 16, Aloy from Horizon, and Melisandre from Unicorn Overlord.
Okay.
And then for the Republican primary, we have Joel from The Last of Us, Kratos from God of War, Mario from the Mario series, Master Chief from Halo, Scorpion from the Mortal Kombat series.
Scorpion's my favorite one. I don't care what anyone says. That's my favorite still.
Saga Anderson from Alan Wake 2, Johnny Silverhand from Cyberpunk 2077, Revolver Ocelot from the Metal Gear series, Metal Gear Solid series, and Leon S. Kennedy from the Resident Evil series.
Julian, I have an important question, though.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What world is the first primary taking place in? Because if it's in like Valheim or if it's in 2077,
right.
Our world.
Okay.
Just
I like the idea of rotating world. Like, what's Iowa? Night City's Iowa. I like that.
So as far as like where you're actually going to like caucus and stuff like that, it's the various video game worlds, right? But the election is happening on our streets.
Okay.
So,
all right.
No, that's a very good question, and actually that might factor into some of the bullshit that I do outside of editing, as far as like ads and shit. Oh man, we should have a rally. Yeah, this is gonna be fun. I feel good about this.
I like the bit. I'm a fan of the bit.
Awesome. So I don't have, well, I'll give you guys a choice. I have two things that I could bring up. One is more of a talking point, and one is just like a game that I played briefly. So I played the Stellar Blade demo before we recorded today, and so I've got a little bit to say about that. But I kind of wanted to also bring up like the thing that's going around lately about it was from GDC this year, where the number that like 60% of the time spent in video games last year were on games that were 6 years old or older.
That makes sense.
And I kind of wanted to like talk about that. What would you guys prefer to get into? And before we get out of here,
we can talk about whatever. I think that is pretty simple though. I don't know where exactly that stat comes from. But that's a lot of people play the same games for a long time, and that's just what they do. If you're calculating the mass population at mass, they will generally play things like Roblox and Fortnite and stuff like that, which are over 6 years old now. And that's where their time goes because all those games are free. That's how that works, basically. And that's pretty much that stat in a nutshell. Like,
it is. But I guess the reason I wanted to bring it up as a talking point is because I don't think it tells the whole story. Because like I definitely see a lot of people freaking out about this stat being like, oh, well, that means that like the video game, business is shrinking and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, that's not what that means.
It's kids that are like a lot of kids or just adults that are just like, hey, I got this game is free and I will play it. And a lot of them don't spend money and even if they do, like it's whatever, they're still going to make new video games because what if eventually those things will peter out a little bit or maybe you can be the next big Roblox or something like that. And there's also is this the least concerning thing or surprising thing I've heard in a while, I guess. I'm just like, yeah, that's fine. I know how that happens. Like,
and I think it's the reaction to it that I'm kind of pushing back on because like, to me, it's like, well, yeah, because those games, like the games that they're talking about are games that don't have ends to them. Like they're just games that you can keep going back to. Like for me, every year, Final Fantasy 14 is either the time that I spent the most time in a game or the second one, right? That's a 10-year-old game, but I also played a shit ton of other games last year. It's just that I finished those. Those
have an end. Yeah. Exactly. The real like time consuming like things people put hundreds of thousands of hours into are things that they can keep playing infinitely because like you said, they don't end.
Yeah. You go back to Skyrim and The Sims for, sometimes 100 hours or more every year.
Skyrim does end. You can end Skyrim. Like,
you can end, but the way that you play it, right? Like you keep going back to it. Because
I just keep starting new things because I'm some sort of weird man that just makes new characters every fucking 5 minutes or whatever because I'm just like, I don't like this one. Their ears are weird. Start a new character. I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah. But that's a very unsurprising stat,
and it's not just video games. I'm having a hard time finding the study, but I remember seeing something like only 12% of listeners. This is a crazy number for new music. Like the vast majority of music people listen to is older music. The worst part of a video game is probably the first 5 to 10 hours for most games. So your average non-hardcore gamer doesn't want to deal with that. They're playing the free shit.
Yeah,
like and they're playing multiplayer games. Like those are made to go on forever. Yeah, I thought that was silly when people go nuts. I mean, because we see how many game sales have we seen that like surpass
exactly
the sales that they're expected? Like it seems like there's almost positive news with everything right now.
Yeah,
besides like the shit.
I guess my worry is that like, and definitely we'll talk about this as we do like at the end of the year when we do like our year-end review type thing where we kind of talk about like the news and stuff like that of the year. But like, I feel that like the worst people are like, as far as like in the video game business are getting the worst data and then extrapolating the worst ideas from said data, right?
Yeah.
So like when I see this, it's like my worry is like people are going to be like, oh, well, then we need to keep making more games that people will be playing 6 years from now or whatnot. And it's like, no, go look at the sales of the other stuff, right? Like that stuff is selling. People go and play it. Like the other thing that I think this is leaving out is like, and like you guys kind of alluded to, right? A lot of those players probably aren't interested in playing anything else, right?
If I'm pitching, you know, if somebody said that and I was a businessman in a meeting and somebody said that, I was like, okay, well, we should do the opposite and make games that do end so that they keep buying them again. Like keep making the games that end and then they'll buy them. They'll just buy the game again. Like you almost want a game to like, okay, well, let's make a $60 or $70 game that lasts for 20 hours and then people will, you know, get done with it. And then we'll have another one that they can pay $70 for. And we'll do this infinitely because we're terrible people.
If the games are good, right? Like
if the games are good, they'll keep buying them, right?
Yeah.
That is the thing. But yeah, people will come if the games are good. You know, it's the problem on the games that people play forever is always like once they find the one that they play forever, that's what they play. And they don't really go to other stuff, or they'll go to it briefly. And if it doesn't, you know, sing to them, then that's it. They find their one and that's what they do, you know, or you go where your friends are. That's what you do. That's a lot of how that works. So, and they keep trying to, you know, break into like, well, we got to have the Destiny model and a game that really just doesn't make any money or whatever. And we got to do this. It's baffling, the live service thing. And I see it because they look at things that it works for and they go, well, that thing just keeps making money and it's this old and, you know, they don't have to do as much stuff to it. Like, why can't we do that? And it's like, well, you could have if you would have came out before it and did it, but it's here now. You're not going to get people to go to your thing. You might get them to check it out. Like that's it. But at some point, like little Jimmy's friend is going to be still playing the old one and that's where his friends are going to be and that's where he's going to go.
Yeah.
And that's how it's going to work.
And I keep thinking about like the success of Helldivers 2 this year and how I don't think anybody saw that coming, right? Like Helldivers was like a whatever, you know, like it had its fans, right? Like I knew the name.
Yeah.
And so, but every time they showed Helldivers 2, I was like, oh, that's a kitschy little like trailer. Like that's neat. Like nobody's going to play this. And you know, I think it was a combination of things, right? It was right place, right time because it came out in like a window where there wasn't a lot out. And also, you know, it was a PlayStation 5 exclusive when that's still a rarity.
Yes.
It's $40. Right. They also released it same day on PC, right? Yep. But then on top of that, the developers of that game are doing really smart things about keeping the players invested, like to the point of like actually gaslighting their audience with shit where they'll like throw in like a new enemy type, like at a very low like encounter rate to get people saying like, yo, I just saw this thing. And the developers are like, no, you didn't. Like there's no way that exists, right? It's so much like Mortal Kombat 2 arcade era vibes where it's like you get people like whispering and then it's like, well, everything's true, right? There's animalities in this game. Like my cousin saw it, right? And like that stuff just starts to spread on and it's really smart.
Right.
But they're very invested in that, right? And it's like you can't there's things that you can do to try to replicate some of that stuff, right? You can try to release it at a lower price point. You know, you can wait to see if the game actually gains traction before you start to try to, you know, put the hooks in it to make it last longer, which that's my thing, right? It's like, I don't feel that in most cases you can set up a game to be like, this thing's going to run for the next 6 years and people are going to keep playing
which is what people try to do. And that's why
I think it has to happen naturally.
It has to happen organically. You almost have to like plan for like, it's probably going to last maybe a year or two, and then people are probably going to move on, you know, like, or something new is going to come and, you know, that's going to be the hit thing and people are going to go to it, you know, and you have to kind of ride the wave while you can. But hey, if it keeps going then
if it keeps
you
going,
ride
great.
that wave. Yeah.
Or, but, and let's say Helldivers 2 has like a really awesome 2 years or 3 years or whatever, and then it starts to peter out. Yo, when something comes out that says from the makers of Helldivers 2, people are going to take notice.
Or hey, Helldivers 3.
Or that, yeah.
Here it is, and now and you're like, oh, hey, that's cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
In a way, it's almost weird that Call of Duty is still coming out every year. When you think about it,
yeah.
Like with a new SKU, when like I feel that they could get away, they could have gotten away with like releasing a game every 3 to 4 years at this point.
Yeah, I mean they could. Yeah, they absolutely could, and it's weird. Yeah, that shit's weird. People will bitch and complain about it too, and they'll still buy it. It's the same with sports games. Like people will be like, "This game is garbage." I'm equally as guilty with WWE bullshit. Like I'm part of the problem with that shit. And I know that, but like I'll see people complain about the same shit. It's like then
they're not incentivized to fix it.
They're not. They're not. You're gonna buy it anyway, and
well, that's why the sequels come out. It's hard to break the cycle with those games, except unless a sequel comes out, right? Like, I still have so many friends that play Apex Legends, and right. But if Apex Legends 2 comes out, they'll probably switch to that.
They'll switch to that, right?
And this isn't a 1-for-1 comparison, but I mean, a lot of these games, like, you almost can't view them fully as video games. People almost view them as like a sport, like a lazy way to play a sport. Like, actually, yes, I play pickup basketball every week, and nobody in my pickup basketball league is gonna say, "Hey guys, what if we tried playing like volleyball one week?" Like,
right, yes.
Like nobody does that. Like, you like Apex Legends, you got your group of like 4 or 5 friends that kind of rotate between. They play that, they enjoy it, and like you said, Justin, half these, like my friends said, I told you guys, I don't have any real nerd friends. Like, right. My friends all play these kind of games, and whenever I and then they make fun of me because I only hop on for a month. I'm like, I got more fucking video games to play, dude.
Yeah.
But like, when I'm on with them, the amount of bitching that happens is unbelievable.
Yeah,
it's so funny, man. I'm like, why do you guys play this game? You hate it. You hate the fucking game.
My brother-in-law is one of those people. He doesn't really play video games. He the only one he'll buy is like maybe Call of Duty and definitely NBA 2K, and he loves his NBA 2K. But every year I talk to him about it, I'm like, "Oh, what's new in it?" He's like, "I don't know, it's fucking trash now, man. They got all this shit going on." It's like, "But you bought it, still.
And you buy it,
like, and you're still paying money in this thing." Like, well, yeah, man. I mean, all the people are on there. You know, I know all these guys. We go on there. We do shit. My sister hates it because he's very loud when he plays video games and yells at things. So yeah, you know. But yeah, that's your mainstream audience buying video games, and that's what they do. They find their game, and that's their game. None of these. The stat doesn't surprise me, Julian.
Oh, it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me either. Like, again, I think it was more of the reaction to the stat, and what that implies. Like, there's like way more doom and gloom right now. And part of it is understandable, right? Because obviously with like all of the like terrible like layoff situations going on the mergers and stuff. And it's a deeper conversation I want to have at another time where it's like, I don't know when it happened. Cause like, obviously there's always been like people invested in like video game development, right? Like that. But I feel that there at some point there was some sort of shift away from the traditional publisher model to like your venture capital type people. And I feel that is the thing that's fucking a lot of stuff up on the business side of things. And that's kind of my worry with some of this stuff is like, again, the worst people are getting the worst like reactions from the data and using that to pivot in the worst directions.
It's going to be one of those things where it's going to take a lot of really dumb shit coming out and failing for people to finally realize that, okay, maybe we don't do this. Like, I'm hoping WB finally gets the fucking message. Hey, maybe this is not a good way to do these video games, to put out the stupid Destiny model or whatever the fuck it is.
But like, but even like some of the reaction to that stuff, right, from like people in the games industry, I find very interesting. So like, I was watching like a Bellular Gaming video today. They were talking about the DLC season for Suicide Squad with the Joker.
Okay.
But he ended his video, and I love Bellular Gaming. They do really great news type stuff. Like, but he ended the video basically saying like, well, hopefully, like, WB will realize that this type of model doesn't work, just like you said. But like, but they'll find a way to possibly make a game. You know, obviously, Spider-Man 2 was very expensive, but maybe they can try to find a way to make a game like that. And I'm like, you mean like they used to do all the time with like Shadow of Mordor and the Arkham games, and like. It's just been the last 2 games where like all of a sudden they got this bug up their bonnet that like they wanted to make it like Destiny, and lo and behold, people didn't like those, right? Like, I'm still waiting for my fucking Wonder Woman game. That shit's gonna be fire. Hopefully.
It might be, or it might be terrible.
It might be, but it's got the Nemesis system in it, so
it might have that. Julian.
No, I mean that's the whole thing. Like that's the kind of the big thing for that one.
I mean, it might.
Unless they changed it. Yeah, maybe we finally see a trailer and it shows the dreaded menu with like the circle cursor and the gear score.
No,
like,
that sounds better. Maybe you pay, a couple bucks for the Nemesis system,
Yeah. Oh god.
Yeah, just a couple dollars.
Even like Jeff Gerstmann this week, like on his podcast, was definitely talking like a lot more doom and gloom and talking about like the potential like end of console gaming and this type of stuff. And I'm like, man, I feel like this is like really like alarmist type stuff that, like the numbers aren't really showing to me. But.
Yeah, I don't see that happening anytime soon but we'll see.
We'll see.
Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows?
Yeah.
The layoffs suck. But I mean, you look at it's a tech thing. I mean, it's not just gaming, like it's everything in tech now, and it is a pandemic related hiring thing. There's a lot to it. So I mean, it sucks, but it's not a video game specific problem.
Oh, absolutely not. And I think that's the thing that I always try to like remind myself of, right? Is that like it's everywhere, right? And a lot of it is a lot of these business people treat like shit the way that I treat Diablo 3, which is, ooh, number go up, then number go up more, number go up more, right? And it's like, but sometimes the numbers stay the same or they go a little bit down, right? Or it boggles my mind that everybody in the video games industry somehow thought that 2020 to 2022 was going to be the way the industry was going to remain. Like it was going to be that trajectory moving forward. And it's like, well, no, it's obviously not. But the numbers in 2024 compared to like 2018 and 2019 are still up from that, right? They're down from 2022, obviously, because those are like record highs.
Yeah.
If the world hadn't ended, like the trajectory would still be on an upward tick from, where it was in 2019.
Yeah.
I'm a moron. And like, I don't understand how like this stuff makes more sense to me than like these people who get paid millions, sometimes billions of dollars. I don't know. But what are you going to do?
Yeah. What are you gonna do?
People like getting mad, It's. I mean, if you want to quickly transition to Stellar Blade, do like 5 minutes on it. I mean, it's just like when I see all the Stellar Blade discourse, we could talk about the actual game, but I just see a lot of people that want to get mad all the time.
Yeah,
like they want to get
on
mad.
either side. Yeah.
There's definitely a couple people that are like, oh. And look, when I'm playing games and like you have Eve from Stellar Blade and my wife. Like I feel weird for a sec. I'm like, look, I'm not a perv, or
she's the thing though. The thing is though that like she's fully clothed, at least in the default outfit, right? Like, so you do get like a really good eye full of cheesecake when you first see her. But when I saw that, I was like, you know what? This is kind of refreshing. This kind of takes me back to like the PlayStation 2 / like early 360 era of video games when like every female character was this, right?
Not a big deal.
It's not a big deal, and we're very pro booba on this podcast.
Boobs are great.
I think the outrage on either side, right? So like the people who are just like, oh, this is just like so pathetic that this character exists when it's based on an actual woman, right? Like they use an actual model to model the character's body off of. So like, it's not even like an unrealistic character design. It's like, no, it's an actual person that they then put in like a really cool cyber suit. But then the other side where it's like getting overly pissed off at people who are criticizing it for that part of the game, right? It's
they want people to get pissed about it so they can get pissed.
Yes. Right. Yeah. That it's a weird vicious circle.
It always is.
If you give Stellar Blade an 8 in your review, you're woke. Like, sorry, bro, you're woke. Like that's what it's gonna be. It's so annoying. But,
or you hate PlayStation, right? Because it's a PlayStation exclusive, so you're in Xbox's pocket.
Multiple fronts on the floor. Absolutely. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I think the game is about an 8. Like, I think I'm curious for what you thought, Julian. It doesn't give you a lot of time with it, but it's like kind of Souls-like, but it's good production values. I mean, I thought the combat was pretty good. I thought the enemy animations were like, and it's early, but I thought that was a little basic. Like, it wasn't that interesting, especially I'm mentally comparing it to Ronin, I think, in my mind, which doesn't help. But I thought it was solid. Seemed all right.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think it's interesting. This is going to sound way harsher than I mean it to sound. But parts of the game feel to me, especially aesthetically, kind of like an asset flip game, in the sense that like it feels like there's a lot of disparate things that were kind of like purchased in an asset store and kind of thrown together. Because like, so when you first start the game, right, like the enemies you're fighting, they seem of a piece, right? They're kind of like, it's like this weird like alien / like biotech look to it. And it's like, okay, yeah, I can kind of get with this. And then you see an enemy that looks like they're straight out of like a Dark Souls game, like a fantasy RPG. And it's like, okay, that's a little weird, right? And I think like so far from what I saw, the environment, like it kind of felt, and I don't mean to take anything away from like the level designers or anything, but my first impression was it kind of felt a little more like kind of ramshackle put together than necessarily like a more authored type of thing. And I could be way off base on that. I'm just talking about like the vibe that I was getting.
Yeah.
I think it feels pretty good. Like I think the combat overall is pretty solid. It's got like the most pathetic dodge that I've encountered in the game in a very long time.
Oh, I gave up on it. It's all parry.
yeah, they definitely want you to parry. And I will say, like, I was hitting the parries in this way better than Resident Evil 7 Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, and I think it does come down to animations, right? Like the enemy animations in Rebirth are way too fast, and like I just don't see them fast enough to react. Where here it's like a lot more of like a Soul style telegraph type thing. But that's the thing that I'm not personally clicking with on the game, is that like I got to a part where like I walked into a doorway and got like attacked by an enemy that was like off to the side in a very
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, very Souls-like fashion, right? But the actual like combat and movement of the character is much more akin to a faster character action game, a la a Devil May Cry or a Bayonetta or a Nier. I can't really like put those two elements together in a way that makes sense to me, because like the way that I'm moving around makes me feel that I just want to go fast. But the actual enemy placement and the difficulty of the enemies is like, no, take your time. You're going to play this methodically and strategically. And it's like, yeah, I don't know if those two things are really gelling in my brain all that much. But I came away from it. I didn't finish the demo, but I came away from what I played way more interested in it than from stuff that I had seen previously. I don't think it's a like a definite pick up and play for me, but it's something that I could probably see myself grabbing on a sale if like the reviews are really stellar.
I think I know what you mean, because everything about the game feels like a spiritual successor, like Bayonetta, and it's really not.
No.
I thought some of the crowd control sections were kind of weird. The skills are cool, but without the skills, it's just like some of the target lock moving around was a little weird. But I did like that there was a set piece moment in there. I thought that was kind of cool, a little different for the genre, if we're talking Souls like. So
yeah.
But yeah, I think I kind of understand where your criticism lies, because it feels like it's supposed to be fast, and then it's actually pretty slow.
Yes.
And I think with time we'll probably adjust to that. But yeah, it didn't strike me as. It struck me as like a really solid 8 out of 10 type game. Oh, cutscenes not being skippable. Super weird to me.
Interesting.
So I don't like to skip cutscenes, but not being pausable is a thing that I was surprised at, because like I was in the middle of cooking dinner and I had to go check something, and I hit the start button to pause the cutscene. I was like, oh, okay, we just gotta let this play out, huh? Okay, that is also a throwback to PlayStation 2 / early 360 era.
And you guys are talking about the demo of the game, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, okay, maybe in the full game you can. I don't know.
Hard to say, because this is one of those demos that's like the beginning of the game, and your progress carries into the main game.
So interesting.
It's probably pretty set.
Yeah, that might. Yeah, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Understood. Yeah. I might have to give that a shot just to see what,
you should
what
check
the
it
fuss
out.
is about.
Yeah.
I should, yeah.
Especially being as big a fan of Nier Automata as you are, because like it is going so hard for that vibe also.
Yeah, I bet it is. At the same time, I'm kind of like, yeah, but it's the age old saying, if you come for the king, you best not miss. Like that's basically how I feel about when it comes to Nier Automata. I'm like,
I want to see if you get the "we have Nier at home" vibes.
Yeah,
from
that's kind of what I'm. That's kind of my fear as soon as.
Yeah,
and I'm just like, I don't know, man.
There's a thing that's been bugging me recently with games, and it's the physics of like the environment. Because it's starting to really get on my nerves when like you just like touch something with your toe that should be like really hard to move with your toe, and it just goes flying. Infinite Wealth has this, Final Fantasy Rebirth has this, Stellar Blade has it, and like it nothing will take me out of a world more than something like that. And I know it's like a dumb little nitpick.
It's an engine thing. Yeah, that's really tough to get. It's tough to nail that stuff down. I mean, you can nail it down and it won't move, but
right.
I
just felt that we were at the point with like this type of stuff where you could be like, no, this thing is like this type of weight, right? So it's not going to move like paper, when you run into it. Like
I don't think we are though. I don't think we are quite there yet, because the amount of CPU power you would need to fucking do like different weights on different physics objects and stuff like that would probably be fucking nuts. You can certainly do certain like different ones, but like every object has its own weight and will drop according to that. Like that would be an insane amount of shit going on at all times. Like we're not there yet processing power wise. I don't think. Maybe I'm wrong. And that would be actually really fascinating to know if I was. But like it just doesn't feel like we're quite there yet.
Yeah, it's hard to say, because I feel like we used to be there like around the 360 era. Like I'm thinking about stuff like Red Faction Guerrilla, where it felt like the physics engine was like a little bit, but then again you had way less stuff that you could actually like bump into, where now it's like that. Maybe that's a trade-off, right? Everything is bumpable. But it all reacts like the same, right? It's all cardboard.
Yeah, that's probably and that was the game of Red Faction Guerrilla, was like, no, you break everything. And it's all about the physics, so you're gonna focus on that stuff more, right?
But yeah, that's Stellar Blade. Again, didn't spend a lot of time with it, but worth bringing up, especially since we had someone else who tried it out. But I think that is a show, guys.
That's a show.
Weston, thank you so much for joining us. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you so much, Weston. You were great.
Thanks so much for inviting me, man. I had a great time. Like I said, really the first time I've talked about video games with someone at this high of a level.
That's great to hear.
It was a lot of fun for me. It was a treat. So yeah, anytime you ever need me again, let me know. I'm
absolutely.
On call. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I worked video game retail for like almost 10 years. And so I had the luxury of talking about video games all day to people there. And it wasn't until I started podcasting where I got that feeling again. And I need it, right? Like I actually, like when Justin and I aren't recording, I'm like, oh man, like I don't have anybody to talk to about this shit. And, sometimes I just want to like hit up Justin and be like, hey, can we just, but like, Justin's busy and whatnot, but like it's like no, but it's I got stuff I want to bounce off game wise, but it's very much like a I wasn't actually joking about the therapy thing. Like there's a very cathartic thing for me about, getting to get this shit out, right? Like I love video games and I love talking about them. And sometimes like a tweet isn't enough. And I don't write anymore. So like that's the other thing is I used to get it out through blogging, but I don't do that anymore. Definitely. We will absolutely have you back on, Westen, because this was a blast. But before we get out of here, like Westen, where can they find you? Like, what's some stuff on your blog that you want to highlight? I personally, I recommend the one about not making games miserable for yourself. Like that was a very good piece.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah. I write every Tuesday and Friday on bignerdgaming.com. I'm on Twitter, Blue Sky, and I got a Facebook page as well. So might expand down the road. But yeah, I just wrote that about stop making yourself miserable. It's about not platinuming games and turning down the difficulty if you want. Quit the game you hate. I enjoyed writing that because I do see a lot of people on Twitter that like just spend more time bitching about games than anything else. And it's like, just like, especially the platinum people, like if you like it, go for it. But like, man, if half your tweets are talking about how much you hate this platinum,
man,
I just don't think it's worth it.
I relate to that. I don't ever go for platinums.
Dude, I haven't had platinum in 10 years.
Yeah. I don't know if I've ever had one actually. So
for old school, they were like, sometimes you could practically beat the game and they'd show up. That's a little rare now, but yeah, for sure. Yeah. Like it's been a long time, but yeah, I have an older piece out there about 2023. And if it's one of the best years of all time that I really enjoyed, that one was a lot of research. I even came up with a little chart, like grading like 90s worth a certain point, 80s worth a certain point, and made a whole chart. So that one was a lot of work. I was proud of that one.
Nice.
But yeah, I just write my general thoughts every Tuesday and Friday, and it's been a blast for me. I mean, even I maybe get 10 readers most posts, but that's for me. That's like, wow, that's so cool. It's
right?
Yeah. Hey, we're a small podcast, so yeah, like every. And I actually do check the numbers like every other day or so, and it's like, oh yeah, yay! Like like seeing the numbers go up, like it does. It's nice.
It is.
Just to know that people are out there listening. Justin, where can they find you?
What about me? Oh, that.
Yes.
You can find me at Tyrone_Swift on Twitter. I'm there sometimes. I'll be there. I'm there. You can listen to This Is Video Games. It's another podcast that I did that I should do again.
Yes, you should.
But I'm tired a lot. It involves me playing porn games. And the clickbait update's still around, I guess. I don't know why. I really should just take that down. But you can listen to it while it's there. Now's the time before I finally decide that like I should just take this down. Why is it still here?
Did you like Mike Fallick on the fourth episode of this podcast? You should go listen to him talk about sexy Pokemon on Clickbait Update.
That was an episode.
That sounds
he and my sister got in somewhat of a tiffy.
Yes.
In that episode, it was something. Yeah.
You can find me on Twitter at Julian_Titus. Also on Blue Sky, just Julian Titus. The show on Twitter is at Stage Select Pod. Reminder that you can send us your questions, comments, and concerns via email. The email is thestageselectpod@gmail.com. And we definitely want your nominations for the video game presidential primaries. Send that shit our way. Like however we, however you want to get in touch with us. I'll find it and I will add it to the list and we will discuss. And eventually we will have the individual primaries and find out who our actual Democratic or Democrat.
Right.
I keep saying Democratic. Democrat and Republican nominees are, going into the end of the year.
And don't forget, if you want to ask Sherwin-Williams anything, the door is always open.
I'm surprised that nobody asked Sherwin-Williams. I thought that was going to be a thing. I mean, I'm sure it will be, but nobody asked Sherwin-Williams this week.
Well,
so
it's I mean, there's still time.
There is. I mean, there's always time. Like we're not going anywhere. So
yeah. Sherwin-Williams will be here forever.
I have to say,
around.
I don't know that I really like being penalized for just being myself. I don't know how I feel about that
Just
penalty,
be careful about the Shasta McNasty alarm. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, but I mean, like, it's just yeah, okay.
Just be careful. It's or embrace it and learn things about the show Shasta McNasty. I don't know what to tell you.
Does the Shasta McNasty alarm apply in space? Because I like space being like my safe space where I can say whatever.
Julian, well, probably not. You know what? Okay. Probably not.
All right.
But
that's good to know.
But it might trigger when we get out of space. If you go too far.
Oh, I'm going to remember this when we touch down.
if you go too far,
okay. Good to know.
All
right. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of the Stage Select. I've been Julian Titus. He's been Justin Ham. Special thanks to Westen. We've been the Stage Select. Signing off.
The Stage Select is copyrighted and owned by Space Monkey Mafia Productions, specializing in independent podcasting. Please consider sharing the show with your friends and support us by joining our Patreon or donating to our coffee. Thank you, and good night.